This episode of Coming Up with Joey Villagomez is brought to you by Mikey O Productions and Pass the Mild Sauce Chicago. Visit MikeyOComedy.com and PassTheMildSauce.com for more info.
Yo, welcome to Coming Up with Joey Villagomez. We got a good episode for you. It was a crazy weekend. I'm just going to get right into this shit because I smoked a little. I'm tired. Everything's on fucking lockdown again because of the COVID-19 shit. So yeah, it was Halloween weekend, man. Did you have a good Halloween, James?
I did, dude. I went, me and the neighbor set up like a projector screen across the way and watched horror movies all day. It was dope.
Oh, that's dope, dude.
Such a nice day out. Like, why not be outside, you know?
And that's what's fucked up. Because my kids are bigger now. They don't go trick-or-treating anymore.
Yeah.
But for the last 10, 15 fucking years, it's been raining, snowy, flurries.
Yeah, last year it snowed on Halloween.
Cold, windy as shit. And now we can't go nowhere because everybody got COVID.
And
now it's fucking 65
Saturday,
degrees. On a Saturday, full moon.
Like, bro, it was the worst. Dude.
60% off on all costumes. Everything was like on sale. It was fuck Halloween, man. Anyway. It was, you know what, though? I will say this, though, because I still live in the hood and I live in the ghetto, and Halloween is always different in the hood, man. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, because after a certain hour, you just can't go out trick-or-treating. Right. Because now it's just gangbangers out, motherfuckers throwing eggs. And I'll say this, man, like, as a kid, that shit was fun. Throwing eggs, bro, we egg bombed every year. It was like we used to be at school, like, ooh, we about to get out. I already know who I'm going to crack with a fucking egg,
got a list of people?
Yeah, like, as soon as we get out, I got my egg stashed in the bushes over there, and I'm egging these three motherfuckers first thing. And then it would be a war. Like, my school was, like, 2 miles west of where I lived.
Yeah.
The whole way home, it's egg throwing from Sacramento, 47 to Sacramento, till I get back to the hood with my friend Dave or one of my friend Steve. You got to duck through alleys. We can't go through it. Them motherfuckers are going to hit us with eggs. You know, like, people had fucking blocks on lockdown and shit. Yeah. So, hey, Curtis, you could laugh too on the mic. That's my guest. I got a guest. I got a good guest in the house tonight, man. You didn't have to be quiet. I just like to get some shit off my chest before I intro the guest. But yeah, Halloween was a trip, man. The thing that tripped me out the most, like, I mean, you've seen my bit about Halloween, right? Mm-hmm. I usually don't like kids coming to my house. I missed it this time, man. You know what I mean? Like, I had some candy. I didn't go out and buy 3-4 bags. Because I really never do that shit. My mom does, or my wife used to do shit like that. Sure. But I did have a bowl of like at Family Dollar. I bought 5 bags of candy at Family Dollar, the dollar bags. And I didn't go all out like that. Because I figured if the kids don't come, I'm eating this shit anyway, right? So I bought like Reese's Pieces, peanut butter cups, like some air. I bought the good shit. There was no fucking peanuts in there, no candy corn. I like candy corn, but there was no candy corn in there. It was legit candy. I was like, you know what? For the 3 or 4 kids that might come through, they're getting good shit. You know what I mean? Nobody fucking came through. So I drank an edible soda. I was high for 8 hours, and I ate half a bowl of candy, man. On Saturday night, Halloween. That was my Halloween, man. It was pretty dope. But I was never one of those, man. I never got all dressed up, go all out. I know you have, Curtis. I think I've seen pictures. But like, because my wife used to be like that, like, oh man, let's go as fucking, you know, like a couple. I'm like, I ain't doing all that. Like, I got to go shop. Like, they just don't sell that costume. We got to put that shit together. Yeah. So I got to go find the colored pants. I don't even like shopping already for myself, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a simple dude. All right? I buy, look, that's a badass socks hat. I like that shirt. That little cheap-ass $25 watch. Bam. I don't give a fuck. I don't buy Jordans. I don't buy Gucci belts. None of that shit, man. So, yeah, it's simple, man. But it was weird, though, because Halloween is like, it is one of those holidays where I feel like, because school just started, you know what I mean? You know, school starts in September. Yeah. And then you got the bullshit weather's starting to kick in. So Halloween's always that, like, all right, this is where the holiday season really kicks off. Yep. You know what I mean? You eat candy like a motherfucker, and then you got Thanksgiving coming up. So this is just a weird holiday season. It has no vibe to it. Nah. People just trying to survive. You know, like, I'm pretty sure motherfuckers ain't having Thanksgiving. Especially, like, here's what I noticed. I think we talked about it, is that you're on Instagram, right? And you got family members, you got friends that you used to kick it all the time until everything got locked down. Yeah. None of these motherfuckers they're all kicking it. They're on all their IG stories. They're at parties, bars, camping, going to states where they don't give a fuck about COVID. Like, I'm in Arkansas, bitch. The fuck you doing in Arkansas? You a Mexican motherfucker from 26th Street. The fuck you kicking it in Arkansas? fuck Chicago, everything's locked down. So I came to Arkansas. Now you got COVID coming back, man. So yeah, that's the only. Everybody's canceling shit, man. But I posted a joke on Facebook the other day that I'm putting a tree up tomorrow, and I'm leaving that bitch up for the whole year, man.
Me too. Like that shit.
Because I used to leave it up till February almost anyway.
Oh yeah, that's off top.
You know what I mean? and usually, no lie, for saving on lights purposes.
Just have that be the
A
living
Christmas
light.
tree with lights
Yeah.
is better than having 5 lamps, a motherfucking ceiling light on. Just need a Christmas tree with the lights. It lights up the whole goddamn house. And I live in a little ass apartment. Lights up the whole house, man. Yeah. Just need the bathroom light. I'm good, man. So yeah, I'm leaving that tree up for a fucking minute, dog. With the gifts, fake gifts. I'm buying fake gifts. Like box gift, little, like the props they do at the mall and shit.
Yeah.
Putting all that shit right there, man. I might hire a fucking Santa Claus just to chill right there, man. COVID test him.
Yeah, smoke with.
COVID test him and shit. It'd be like, Santa, you chilling with me, man. For all of December, man. I got a good guest today. We're going to talk a little bit about the industries, how restaurant, the whole entertainment industry, how it's been affected by COVID-19. The comedy industry, I know this is still a comedy podcast. I know I'm advertising is not all comedy, but it's still a comedy podcast. I'm just not going to have comedians on every episode. That's just the difference. All right, like I said, I got a lot of cool,
And
interesting
thank God
people.
for that, honestly.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean,
Jesus Christ.
not only that, but like, I'm going to be realistic. Living in Chicago and doing comedy in Chicago, I technically only have like 10 real comedy friends. Like real comedy friends? Like real friends? Like probably 10. So yeah, I'm not going to have the same 10 motherfuckers on the show. But yeah, I'm just being real, man. It's a job. It's like having coworkers and shit. You have a
real
wedding.
coworker friends do you
Yeah,
have?
or if you have a personal wedding or a quinceañera or some shit, how many coworkers are you really going to invite? Right. You're going to be like, hey, bro,
10 max,
don't tell them motherfuckers in the mailroom. But come to my party, bro, next week. That's how it works with comedy or any industry. So anyway, I got my guest, my homie, my homeboy. I've known him for a very long time. He is the general manager.
Sure, we rock with that.
He's just running shit, man. The
we
general
rock with that,
manager
yeah.
of the Chicago Laugh Factory Comedy Club. Got my homeboy Curtis Flagg in the house. How you doing, Curtis?
Man, doing great. All things considered, doing great, man.
Yeah, good
Thanks
to
you
see
for
you, man.
having me, man.
No, thanks for doing the show, man. AKA Lovey Smith. All right? I got a picture with you, dog. You look just like Lovey Smith, man.
I was getting I definitely had a
You had
polo.
an
I
orange
had
shirt?
an orange polo, Nike polo phase that I went through.
And you had
this,
like
last spring.
Lovey's little chill ass demeanor and
I was
shit.
definitely arms folded.
like half smile and shit.
I feel like that's me now whenever I'm like night managing there because I've been there so Laugh Factory so long that I usually kind of all around. But then when when I'm focused on night managing, I feel like now I'm like a totalitarian and every little thing I'm kind of like paying attention to.
Well, you got to deal with like fucking 30,000 people at one time sometimes, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to deal with a crowd.
Those were the days.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly feel it'll eventually get back to that, bro. I mean,
yeah, but at the same token, it is kind of like a nostalgic thing. Like I looked at an old picture of one of the Saturday nights. You know what I'm saying? It was like
Packed as fuck.
360 people, damn near lapped up on top of each other.
Standing room only
and
upstairs.
I was like, man, this was like, Then I was like, it kind of looked gross. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, yeah, all these people
when you look at it like
elbows and
from
shit.
a hygienic aspect.
Yeah, I'm like,
aspect,
man, Fauci would have my ass, but it will get back to that.
Motherfuckers throwing up.
Dude, that's like everyone's like, man, you get to like book and do all this. I'm like, yeah, but I also clean puke from some of the weirdest places, shit from a urinal, like what I mean, like shit that doesn't even make sense. I'm like, why? What are we doing?
Yeah, I've been in those situations, man, and I want you to confirm this because my first job was at Chuck E. Cheese. I worked in a retail. I worked at. Women's restrooms are the fucking worst.
They're the worst. Yeah, they're the worst.
A woman's restroom is 10 times worse than a man. We piss on
shit. They got
shit.
a couch, but other than that, it's like
and we might leave a pube or two on the fucking urinal. I caught motherfuckers at work shaving sometimes in the sink and shit like that. But dog, in a woman's restroom, I found tampons, diapers, empty 40-ounce bottles, fucking blunt wraps. Panties,
it used to always fuck
bloody
me up.
drawers.
Just like, okay, I gotta burn this,
bro. I'm telling you,
It used to blow my mind because I'd always see, I'd go in the mornings and I used to think that the women's bathroom was the cleanest. So I go to use the bathroom there, like, night after a show because I'm like, I know this is going to be clean. I already know what the guy's bathroom looks like because I was there. And it used to always trip me out because there'd be so much piss on the toilet.
Right.
And I was like, you gotta
they
sit.
hover. They hover.
And I mean, after someone was like, you idiot, like no one's just putting their ass to the thing. I was like, damn, I've been doing that in there.
And then somebody,
I just been sitting on the fucking, like, I was cleaning. I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah,
I'm like,
hey,
what
but
the
then
fuck
again,
is this?
look at it from a freaky aspect. Like, you know what? I'm a man. That's a woman's peak. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I've had a golden shower before. I'm gonna sit right on
Rub it in your
this piss.
gums like,
Bam. Ooh, I think I know her.
like, ooh, she is Colombian.
This episode is dedicated to R. Kelly, minus the underage girls.
Exactly.
Just the pee part.
Yeah, we 18 and over at the club anyway. So
But seriously, dog, like, I mean, then you got to think about it too. I mean, imagine if we had the hover, drunk.
Oh, my God.
We pissing all over the fucking
Yeah.
place, man.
Yeah.
So I got to give it to the women.
Yeah,
If they're
no, absolutely.
hovering and drunk, yeah, they're not.
the
making
thing
it
about
into
dudes
the
is when
toilet.
we're drunk, like we don't even hit the seat.
Hell no, bro.
It's everywhere. It's just-
Motherfucker got piss on your shoes. Your gym shoes got piss. Like, don't pee in the alley when it's windy either.
Oh,
bro.
my God.
You gotta, just like a field goal kicker, you gotta be like, all right, the wind's blowing that way. Let me stand right here.
Lick
throw
your
a,
finger
throw a
bit.
couple things of grass in the air, like,
Yeah.
all right, so it's hitting that way.
That way the wind,
Yeah.
it's gonna blow it that way and not get on my shoes and shit, man.
Bears kickers stay with pee all over their pants.
Hell yeah. Cody Parkey pisses all over
Oh,
his shoes, man.
you don't even pull it out.
Hey,
He
I
just
give it
goes.
to, look, I don't get deep into sports, but shout out to Cairo Santos from the
Yeah.
Bears, man. We finally got a fucking
Yeah,
kicker,
we
dog.
did.
He's
Yeah.
kicking them bitches right
He
down
took
the
us. He
middle.
took us to overtime, so I can't even hit on
Every
that.
one he's kicked has been right down the middle.
Yeah.
59, 50, whatever. He's 55 was.
I was like turning the channel because just triggered. You know what I'm saying? Post traumatic stress of just
bro,
like,
no
oh,
lie. I
God.
just sit there like, all right, he's gonna make it, man. I know he's gonna make it. He's gonna fucking make it.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. My
Yeah,
therapy
yeah.
group tells me, whatever.
So speaking of Chicago, Curtis, are you from Chicago?
I'm from Southern Illinois, actually,
right,
South
cool.
Central. I'm near town Decatur, Illinois, so like Macon County, kind of.
I've been down to the Decatur area.
Central Illinois, and I was born and raised there. Lived on a farm. Had that kind of interesting perspective of life. Tending to animals and whole farm system, corn, walking beans, detasseling, like having that side. But I also had a city life, so I lived in Decatur as well, which is like. It's not a major metropolitan, but it's a city.
I mean, it's a city. It's a city.
Yeah, it's a city. So, grew up, kind of from the bottom, perspective, single mother. My dad, kind of, they, got a divorce. And, so I spent most of my time with my mother. My dad was a former Vietnam War vet, kind of had, his own struggles and things going on. So he was focusing on himself. So, I was like man of the house situation. And
Hey, that's crazy.
Yeah, I used to kind of resent my dad, here recently, his health is failing. So, we've kind of, formed a new bond where it's almost like reverse. So, I'm taking care of him. But he taught me a lot of, strong, morals, working, hard worker, had multiple jobs. My mom had multiple jobs. That's why I have multiple jobs. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, shit. I mean, I met you as the sound guy
Yeah.
at the Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Started as an intern, then did sound, then did
yeah. Curtis,
bartending.
I mean, look,
and
for all
sound.
you young comics that are always like Curtis Flagg. At one point, Curtis, you weren't shit, bro.
I went shit. No, trust me, I miss
I'm
those
talking
days.
about in the comedy world. You know what I mean?
I miss when motherfuckers really thought I
Yeah, because there was a point where I wasn't shit. I just ran a room at a Polish bar, and motherfuckers thought I was, just because I had a couple, like a Hannibal or something through there.
They're like,
Hey, can I send you a tape for you? I'm like,
Oh, you
come
can't
through and
send
do
me
5
shit,
minutes,
bro.
man. Come through. Let me see what you got, man.
man, I even tried comedy for a little bit. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely. If anybody's got those tapes,
But
like,
see,
I'm paying
that's
top
the
dollar.
part you trying comedy. That's the fucking hustler in you, man. Because
Yeah.
part of you is probably like, you know what? It's cool making money in the industry and all that.
It
But at the
just
same
is.
time,
It's intriguing.
it's an intriguing job, and not only that, but like we've talked about this plenty of times with comedians where the average person is not a comedy fan.
No.
Like if they're not in the comedy industry, they're not working at a comedy club, not a waitress, a bartender, whatever. The average person walking the street doesn't know shit about stand-up. You could even be like, hey, do you know who Mitch Hedberg is? Or who?
hell
They don't know
no.
who the fuck these people are. Some people, they'll know Richard Pryor from movies. and
Yeah,
shit
it's
like
a
that.
very base. And
like,
I hate to
if
call
you name
Richard
a-
Pryor base level, but like you have like
'Cause of his
5,
fame,
10
pepper
names.
people
Yeah,
know.
Dave Chappelle, Richard Pryor, maybe Amy Schumer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but if you were to
it's-
mention like Tony Woods or a fucking Jim Gaffigan to the average
Not
person,
at
they'd be
all.
like, who?
Yeah.
The Hot Pocket guy. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's why I always feel like once you get in the job, you're gonna. I mean, either you hate it or you love it.
Yeah.
I know I've met plenty of sound guys at the fucking Laugh Factory. A couple managers that Either they stuck with the shit, they're working somewhere else in the industry, or they're
They're
just
completely removed. Yeah, they're completely removed.
Yeah, completely
with
done
comedy,
with
same thing.
fucking
Yeah.
comedy.
It's like either you're doing it or you're just so far removed from it. It's like you wish you never had.
It's
You know
a
what I'm saying?
wild,
Like,
it's a wild business.
It is. It is. That's kind of crazy though to think about because I mean it's a long list of names. You know, we could probably talk all day
Yeah,
about
we
like,
could.
man, what happened to him? Like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah,
he
it's a
he
crazy.
was killing it. She was killing it. You know.
And we've had those conversations.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I wonder what the fuck happened to
Yeah.
that person. So that's why, like, you coming from a farm town in a smaller city than Chicago, and like, were you starstruck with the whole industry? Like,
No.
not
My claim to fame was actually Richard Pryor. So like I'm related to Richard Pryor. His grandmother's like my grandfather's aunt. So I was
Oh,
raised in stand up comedy.
okay,
like
cool, all right.
Red Fox, Richard Pryor, you know, those
So you kind of
comedy
knew already,
albums.
like, I like this shit.
All
And
that,
I like
yeah.
watching
All
stand-up.
the funny thing
All
was
right.
I always looked at him as an actor because he was in Toys and
yeah,
Superman 2 and kind of these things. So like once the comedy was introduced, I kind of came up in the Def Comedy Jam era.
So
So
did
I
I.
would watch that late night with my uncles, and then finally I got introduced to. He always kept vinyls. You know what I'm saying? Just like vinyls on
it's
vinyls.
storytelling comics, man.
Yeah, and you
Them
put it
old
on,
school-
listen to an hour and 45, 2 hours, 2.5 hours maybe of just it was a tour, it was a tour through the life of,
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then, my family in Peoria, which is where, Richard Pryor's from, like the Carter side, Marie Carter, which was his grandmother that owned the brothel and all that shit.
Oh,
They
shit.
talked about the Carter side, like, you don't really, they are people not to be fucked with. So I got a chance to kind of see the behind the scenes,
So did you hear the story about him lighting himself on fire before he actually did a bit about it?
No, that
right.
was it was. I mean, it all was kind of it was all parallel. Like when
Okay.
when it when it
You
came
just
up,
you
were like,
basically
yeah.
pretty much just tie it into time. Like,
Also, he was
that
bigger-
was the point in his life.
Yeah,
when
he was bigger
fucking-
than life at that, so
right.
the family at large, and like Richard, it was far removed. He was like 6 wives in, you know what I'm saying? Like he was
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
doing
alright.
his, it's just like any celebrity that becomes just larger than life. You know what I'm saying? Like he was in LA and had his ups and downs and struggles and stuff at the time, and the Pryor family actually was completely banned from Peoria for a long time. They like ran them out because they were like hustlers, madams, pimps, like drug, you know what I'm saying? Like, so they actually kind of were like ran out of Peoria and some went to Decatur. And that was like, my grandfather, and that's, that side of my family.
Damn,
That's
so
kinda
you
how
come
they
from a
came
long
up.
line of pimps.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you know what I'm
That's
saying?
why you were
I know,
cool.
yeah,
No lie,
you felt
bro.
it on me. You felt it
Look,
on me. I know.
That's how you know. That's when the motherfucker's just cool, bro. When you
Man, at
come
the end
from a
of the day.
line of just cool motherfuckers, man. Like, my dad is a cool ass motherfucker, dog. Like, he's
Yeah,
a
my
rock
dad-
star. He'll sit down, he'll smoke a joint with you. Well, not anymore, but he'll bullshit.
Yeah.
He'll tell you about pussy. He'll talk about anything. He'll tell you about drugs.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, when you meet a person, it's like, all right.
Who kinda has
even
that,
though
yeah.
you're from a small town, I mean, your family ran shit over there.
Yeah. And so
know what I mean?
it wasn't until actually Richard had blown up, gotten like huge, that like they offered him the key to the city. And it was almost like a, hey, they were
shit.
saying like, we're welcoming you back. Like it was like, I believe he had MS at the time too. So it was like after all that time and him, also they didn't have shit to really show for the town. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
Who else do you know from
somebody
Peoria?
like,
That's like,
hey,
wait,
home of
yeah,
Richard
yeah.
Pryor, man. Like, you ever been to Dixon, Illinois?
No.
Childhood home of Ronald Reagan. Who gives a
Who gives
fuck?
a fuck? I think I saw that sign on the
Dixon,
road too. It's
Illinois
like-
is a whack little town, man.
So yeah, that was how I was first introduced to comedy. So it was always adjacent to my life, but my life path took like a completely different direction for the first 20 some odd years, and then the magnetic force of comedy kind of brought us back together when I had moved to Chicago and was doing some soul searching. You know what I'm saying? Like I moved here after college, went to college in Indianapolis.
What year did you move to Chicago?
2010.
All right.
9, 10, something like that. Yeah,
life
yeah.
was kind of lovely in the city around that
Oh
time.
yeah,
man.
yeah. No,
Mayor
it
Daley
bubbly.
was still
Yeah.
the mayor.
Yeah, it was bubbly, and I had a job straight out of college. I went to college for bioinformatics. It's like a biology degree basically, and I worked for a place called Fermi Lab.
I wanted to be a fucking I wanted to be a microbiologist, man.
that was
in high school.
that was actually my
I
original.
used either a fucking pathologist, forensic pathologist, or I used to love looking into microscopes.
Yeah,
and
that was like
cells
yeah,
and
that was
shit
my
like
shit.
that. Yeah.
I had actually enrolled at Columbia because I wanted to be PR. I wanted to basically be like Olivia Pope for like saying like for famous people and shit. I wanted
Alright.
to fix shit. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be so my very first vision of my life had to do with the industry, and then I got a track scholarship. in Indianapolis, and so that kind of changed everything.
All right.
Because once you go to Indianapolis, like
You're no
it's
longer
much
in a
like
big city,
Yeah,
man.
you know what I'm saying? Like even though Indianapolis is like
You're in
the
the-
biggest city without a body of water surrounding it, it's Indiana. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
It's
sorry,
like-
Indianapolis has
so
no
your-
life to it.
none. So your life goals kind of change a little bit, and so I went into pre-med. I was pre-med biology. I wanted to be a
damn.
sports medicine doctor for the Bulls. I was like, that's what I want to do. You know, what I'm saying? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor for the Bulls. And then I took my first MCAT class, and I was like, oh hell no! I can't do this. I was like 4 years in another 4 years, but in the first 4 years, I got to read this whole book and memorize this shit.
Dude,
so
medicine
like,
ain't no joke, man.
no, so
That's
like
what- that's-
very quickly that
You see,
changed.
it's like opening a Pandora's box. Like, okay, I want to learn about cells, and then you open up that. Now you got to learn about chromosomes and
Yeah.
fucking amino acids and shit like that. Yeah, it's
Adenosine
yeah, it's-
triphosphates, and, you know, every time
it
you
keeps
move, it's
opening.
adenosine
Now,
diphosphate. How's that
now
make
it turns
sense?
into chemistry.
Yeah,
and
which I
it's too
hated
much,
chemistry.
bro.
Like I tried to stay as far away from chemistry as I possibly could, and then as I got older, I was like, damn, like chemists make the money. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You could either be a drug dealer, or you could be, you know what I'm
Or you
saying?
can be a chemist crack dealer,
like,
man. You
chemistry-
being a motherfucker like, yup.
that shit is true
I like
chemistry.
the color. It's yellow.
That's how I know crack was what came from the government. I was like, ain't nobody just
Bro, my
randomly stumble
uncle,
across it.
look, my uncle, because like where we grew up, it's the neighborhood is half black and half Mexican. And one of my uncles used to always say that because this was in the early 90s when crack was still hitting hard.
Yeah.
And my uncle Bobby had a lot of black friends. He went to Tilden High School, and he would say that. He would be like, the fucking government put crack here. You know, he would use one of his friends. You think Jermaine figured out that if you mix cocaine and baking
With
soda,
baking soda,
these motherfuckers didn't go to school? He's like, a scientist did that shit and put it in the street. He used to always preach that
Yeah,
shit.
dude, at best, like somebody had an empty fridge, and usually what's the only thing in an empty fridge? If you got a bare fridge, baking soda.
baking soda.
Baking soda is like the only thing in the empty fridge. So like maybe it's like, all right, I'm hungry as fuck. I'm gonna boil this baking
Yep.
soda, try to make some shit up. Then somehow like, well,
But why would you mix cocaine
there?
in it?
Yeah, like they just had the baggie in their
Put
hand.
some
and
sugar. You
fell
thought it was
out.
a sugar. Make it a little sweet.
Also, I've never cooked Coke before. I just know the recipe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know nothing about adding
Disclaimer.
B12, fish scale, none of
Yeah,
that.
none of
I don't know about
that.
shit.
So yeah, you know, I took that path. I moved to Chicago, worked for a place called Fermi Lab out by Bartlett. Was working on this neutrino testing. It was called. They were faster than light neutrinos that were traveling through space, basically. And we were doing bioinformatics is like software engineering, basically for labs. So we were engineering coding and programs so they could calculate the time that the neutrinos took. Ultimately, like the goal of it was like you could possibly disprove the theory of relativity. So like E equals MC squared, like time travel's possible. Things can move through mass, like some real cool shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, I mean-
to like a 8, 9, say 21-year-old or whatever smoking weed, and shit, I'm like, yo, if I fucking disprove the theory of relativity, man. And so you know what I'm saying? We were
What
doing
movie
that.
was it where one of the guy came up with the weed that can't get detected in? Was that Half Baked? No, not Half Baked.
That was Half Baked. Was that Harold and Kumar?
Was it Harold and Kumar? Well, one of the friends that he came up with a
Yeah,
strain.
yeah. Oh, How High?
Was it how? Yeah.
I think it was. I'm just thinking of all.
I gotta
like,
look
the
that up again.
educational
But that
weed movies.
motherfucker was a scientist, and he grew a strain that couldn't be detected by drug tests.
Dude, like, so, I did all that. Basically, long story short, government cut funding for the program. And then I was like lost in the sauce. I'm like, fuck, like I got this degree. I've skated through, by the skin of my teeth, went to Marion for a while, then, dropped out of there, went to Ivy Tech, was like community school, like was taking, class here and shit. So finally made it out, was in the big city where I always wanted to be, like my entire life, even before I came to Chicago. My mom was like, you was just Chicago, like you never even went. So I was where I wanted to be, and I just, was like navigating through the shit. Worked at Best Buy for a little bit. Met Jonah Jerkins, who's a comedian.
Oh, he worked
We
at Best
worked
Buy?
together at Best Buy before I was
Oh, that's
even.
dope.
I hated him because he came in from Milwaukee and he was a comic. And he's like, I have to have nights and weekends off because that's when I go out. And sometimes if I get booked for
You
a
were his
gig-
manager?
No, we
Oh,
were
all right,
coworkers,
all
but
right.
I had to like take his shifts and shit because he's like, if I get booked
Oh,
for a
yeah, I
gig,
can't stand that
can't
motherfucker,
work.
man.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's like, if I get booked for a gig, I can't work. So somebody's got to like work for me.
Hey,
And so
Jonah, you're
I-
that dude, man, for
yeah,
real?
he
bro?
was. He knows he was. We talk about shit all the time. So yeah, I was doing that shit, and then I was writing for the Tribune for a little bit, sports, and I was ghostwriting for some pretty big writers, and that was like just some like random hobby shit. Maggie Sargent was working at the Trib as well. She had an anonymous blog.
So she was working at the Laugh Factory at that
when
time
she was
too?
GM, and she
Okay.
like as a hobby too. She was like basically like blogging. We were both bloggers for the Trib. They had just started this. They like print media was dying, and then so like digital media was coming up.
Okay.
So we basically were like the pioneers of like the Tribune's blog site. It was called Chicago Now. It is called Chicago Now, still around. She had an anonymous blog. I was doing like sports and pop culture and science. And we met, and she was running the Laugh Factory. I was like, yo, you run the Laugh, because I lived up the street from the Laugh Factory. It was like formerly the Lakeshore Theater, but it had been closed forever, and it finally reopened as the Laugh Factory. And I had come a few times with Scott King and, you know what I'm saying? Like that
I remember when
Jacob
it first
Williamson,
opened.
you know what I mean? Like that crop of comics. And so I used to just hang out in the back with Scott, Jacob, you know, and like all those comics, like Prescott Tolk, I think was still here at the time. Nate Craig, you know,
they were
popping
all
in, whatever. So I was always there, and I like loved, you know, being around stand up. And then finally she was like, well, we're looking for a marketing person. You can come and start interning. And then that's when I was in there taking the pictures every night. And that was just, I was like, I wrote Jamie a contract. The first day I met him, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. You know, and I was like, I'm going to increase your followers by this much. You're going to sell, you know, this many tickets. He like looked at the contract. He laughed. He passed it back to me. He was like, you can start tomorrow. We ain't paying you though. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm in.
You're
I
just
was
happy
like,
to be in there.
Dude, day one, I was like, I'm never leaving. I was like, they're gonna have to like forcefully remove me from this place, and I've been there like damn near every night.
Hey, that's dope, dude.
Since that day. Yeah, and it's like
and I will say this, Curtis. I mean, I've been through there through the other managers. It's always been dope. Don't get me wrong. I mean, before Maggie and Emily like took over the whole manager spot, I don't even know who the fucking manager was before that. But I was already kind of a staple on the scene where I was running a show. I was running a room, like a solid fucking comedy room for about 3 years already.
Yeah.
And then we had the Mikey O show, so people knew who we were. And I could not get into the fucking Laugh Factory because the whole, I mean, I'm not talking shit about Scott King, but it was one of those buddy things.
Yeah.
You go
That's
to the
why
back.
he was there, because they were like, you know, comics. So like you were going to be, he was like the
And I'll
only
think he hit
house
me up.
MC booker that they had.
He hit me up a few times. I mean, but this is what I didn't like, all right? Because you know I'm a good host. I've always been good at hosting shows. He would always put me up first. I'm talking about 15 trash comics. Hey, Joe, you don't mind going up first? I'm like, all right. And then by the third time, I'm like, do I got to go up first? He's like, I like the kind of way you set it off. But I'm like, then I'm doing your job. You're the host. You just putting me up first.
Shout out to Scott King. Scott King.
What he got me in? Shout out to Scott King.
He was a
It got
funny
me in.
enough dude, you know what I'm saying? And he, as far as they knew, was like the plug. Because like, you know what I'm saying? You know when you like, that's like, it's burb gigs, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't know the minutia of Chicago comedy.
Yeah, true.
So there's like a couple people that they've heard of, and they'll lean on them to bring the talent out, and then ultimately they will bring up their friends. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
But see,
hey, I
that's
got this
the thing.
$500 gig out in, you know, bumfuck.
But see, that's where the problem falls with comedy, because this is one of the. It's just like sports, bro.
Yeah.
If one of your homies ain't good, you're gonna tell him you suck, dog. Like if you're picking a basketball team, you know which motherfucker can't shoot,
You definitely
can't
not
run,
gonna get.
and you tell them like as homies. Damn, bro, you gonna pick me last? Dude, you suck,
Yeah,
dude.
you know it,
We
dude.
put you in that garbage time,
Yeah,
man.
it's kind of interesting in that perspective,
But
because
comedy-
comedy sometimes is a
but-
lot different.
What I'm saying is as far as the talent level goes, you
Yeah.
have to treat it the same as sports,
You
but
should,
we
yeah.
don't.
Yeah, no.
Well, a lot of us lie to our friends, man. You're funny. No. And at that moment, because I pretty much knew which comics were good and which weren't. And I'm not judging motherfuckers like, he sucks. It's more, you know what? He's only been in it 2 years. We don't know what he might do in another 2 or 3 years. I never discredited a comic right off the bat.
No, you can't.
I mean, you can tell
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was like, all right, this
Yeah,
dude.
you know
is-
somebody who's the diamond in the rough too, though. Like they
Like,
may
he
be
write-
horrible.
Material's
but you can see
awesome, but
something.
he doesn't know how to perform it.
Exactly.
The delivery,
Yeah.
he's got to tighten that up by getting up, but he writes really good shit.
Yep.
And then there's motherfuckers like, okay, that's some
Yeah, it's
bullshit.
just trash, but he got stage presence. Like his movements are funny, but
Yeah,
the
he's
shit ain't
working
coming out of his
memes
mouth
right
ain't.
now. He's working memes because he can't write a solid ass bit yet. You know what I mean?
Oh, we can get into that.
So like I've always seen that, but when I remember when Scott King was doing that, it was like you can't. This is one of the ministries where if you book garbage, nobody's gonna go watch it.
Nobody's gonna get.
So you had to be honest. I mean, I did it a lot too, where when I was running a room where Mikey would be like, "Hey, send me a name of 2 girls and 2 guys, and you know, make sure one of the girls is black, make sure one of the dudes is Latino, whatever the fuck." I had to go through my phone and be like, "Damn, he sucks."
Yeah,
you know, like
you gotta be
that's my
real with
homie. I
yourself.
like
Yeah.
her, but I can't put her on the first show.
Yeah.
So Scott King was just putting every week Saturdays.
Yeah.
On Saturdays when they were drawing in decent crowds, bro.
Yeah, I used to have to sit a decent crowd.
People would
I used to
walk
have to
out by the
sit in
4th, 5th comedian.
audience.
People would walk out by
Yeah,
the
it was
4th, 5th
right-
comedian.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too when you just like look back at those, you know, at those days.
built
it's
what
like,
it is now,
man,
though, you know what I mean?
You know, that's that was the foundation in which, the Laugh Factory, is currently sitting on. But, the cool part about it was that it was a showcase, so you could put up.
Yeah, it was.
It was a work in progress, but you had 6, 7 local you know what I'm saying? Like living, depending, trying to live their life off comedy. And what happened was they started weeding out. You know what I'm saying? Like over time, it was kind of like and then the mic kind of started, gaining a little steam. And unfortunately, there was some killers that had to go through the mic. You know what I mean?
They
like,
had to.
You had Jamie there.
You know how many
Scott
calls and emails I used to get? Hey, man, how I get in there? They don't fuck with me. Like, bro, I haven't seen your face in months, bro. And this is a
comics
business
get this. I actually just want to. Comics get this part fucked up about showing face at a comedy club, because during COVID, like when everything was shut down, I saw a lot of posts about it. It's like, yeah, the bookers got to change like the way they do, and the whole New York paying for mic shit. Like, ain't nobody fucking caping for that.
No, I've seen all them posts, man. I just bite my tongue.
And it's like, but the thing about showing face is, if you're not on TV, like, and if somebody's just not out there like that, motherfucker, I don't know who you are.
Or if you weren't a staple on the scene already, you weren't running the room before.
Yeah, if your name ain't ringing bells, if somebody, asks you.
I'd say even if you were a staple in the scene, because the scene's changed.
Yeah, it changed. Yeah,
there's so many people out there working now. Like it's hard to keep track of who's doing shit.
And a lot of new comics that are coming in from other cities that like literally moved here to do stand-up.
And if you're good, you're not just working in the city. You're probably on the road for most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Doing corporate gigs. Whatever. Like
how many gigs in the
burbs
as possible.
Exactly.
How many times have we had this conversation where we talk about not picking and choosing gigs, but where you get to a level where I don't have to. I don't want to rely on Laugh Factory gigs every week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And you can see that on social media where a comic talking shit. Motherfuckers don't book me. They don't fuck with me. And then it's like, dude, you do the same room only.
Yeah.
Like we see what goes on social media. That's what I don't understand why a lot of these young talking shit, burning. Like I wanted to do an episode called "Comedians Burning Bridges."
That would be nice.
Because like I used to talk about how I used to stop going off on fucking Facebook.
Comedians and careers burning bridges. I like that.
Jesus Christ, bro.
Coming to the People Comedy Network.
Oh yeah, bro.
I don't get it, bro. Like, all right, I've been in the game 2 years, right? 3 years. I just moved to Chicago. I've been here a year, and I've emailed you 4 times, and I get no response. I'm not going to go on Facebook and be like, fuck the Laugh Factory. I've emailed whoever's running. They don't know shit.
Yeah. And people just know every...
My thing is, how quick it's going to get to you?
Yeah. Even like the side, it's like, oh man, I was at Comedy Bar and we were just sitting in the back talking, and like they said this. I'm like, I try, and you have to kind of just be naive about it, because I'm like, no one's ever going to be, especially if you don't get booked, they're not going to agree with my booking. Exactly. If I'm not putting you up, then you're definitely going to think I have an issue booking.
Yeah, they're going to be like, yeah, you're right.
There's a glaring piece of this puzzle and it's me, motherfucker. So I try to stay, and I'm never wanted, they come out like, yo, I heard you was talking shit. I'm
you don't have
way
to.
beyond that.
You don't have to.
But at the end of the day, like what people should know, especially now in like the current times we're living in with shutdowns, Laugh Factory ain't open, everyone is the master of their own destiny. Like Tim Dillon always says it best. He's like, I'm not beholden to the clubs anymore. Like everyone has the power to be a celebrity in their own regard. Anywhere.
You could book a venue. If you got a little following built on Instagram or on any kind of social media, and you're funny and you're putting in the work and you're writing shit, you don't have to rely on 1 or 2 comedy clubs, bro.
No,
you know what I mean?
Get to about 3,000 to 5,000. You don't need 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. Like eventually you'll get there, and like basically what you'll notice is when you hit those thresholds, like get a LinkedIn. You know what I'm saying? I see smart comics on LinkedIn. They're never the funniest, but they're like the smartest, like business savvy comics. Like, they got a profile, but it's a comedy profile. You don't need a LinkedIn for, you know what I'm saying? Get a Fortune 500 job. That's where the corporate groups are, because they hit me up on LinkedIn because they
paid.
See, general manager, president of Laugh Factory, and they're like, hey, I have a gig, like, and that's the relationship that we stay. I message people, corporate groups solely through LinkedIn, and like that's where like the Zoom shows have kind of been popping out. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
It's a lot of money.
But it's so much fucking money there,
pays, man.
Bro. Like,
I'm not gonna lie.
5 clean minutes of it, and like you good.
My top bill payers in the last 10 years were all the corporate shit that Mikey O sends me to.
Corporate gigs, like
all the fundraisers I do for schools, the fucking, the Bear Paint Factory. I did their Christmas show 4 or 5 years in a row, and they're always dropping a G or two. You know what I mean?
just like off top. So like at the end of the day, fuck me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You don't need me. You don't need me. Yeah, you're right.
But if you want to work the club, don't be talking
Yeah,
shit.
if you just but if you want to get some, semi-consistent work in front of a good amount of people on a regular basis, like the clubs are where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Like the Chicago is so rich in opportunity because, for so long it was building this credibility, like the fucking Reader and the Trib. Yeah, I said it. The Sun Times, all of these media outlets keep coming out with this comedy in Chicago's dead. No, improv is dead. Guess what, bro? Improv been dying. Improv died 10 years ago. Improv was dead when I moved here. Stand-up comedy.
You know when improv died? Improv died when they started calling stand-ups to book them at their fucking shows.
Yeah.
That's what, because Second City, IO, they never fucked with me until probably the last 5 years.
Until Up
when
popped up.
Up
and
popped
JB.
up, and then the NBC diversity. Now they're like, all right, we need a Mexican comic. And then they Google my name. I'm gonna probably be the first one pops up.
Yeah, you walk into Second City, you go see an improv, show, whatever. She the people, or all the bullshit they had, and then you walk, and then you stumble into Up. And you're like, what the fuck?
And you can film a special in that.
And what happens?
Beautiful room in the city.
Oh my god, dude! Fucking beautiful room. Dude.
I never considered any club competition, but Up. That was because I'm like if they just start doing showcase shows, like I'm fucked.
Dude, every night I worked there, when they put me on manager, I would demand to manage Up. Just to sit in there.
Dude, that
JB
for 4 hours, bro.
Oh, you did? You worked in that?
Yeah, I didn't know.
I was a manager at Second City.
Shit!
Yeah.
No shit.
Oh yeah.
JB booked me to feature for Pablo Francisco. And he's a crazy dude, but he's got a following. He fucking packed the room out. He was out of control. That motherfucker was out of OC. Yeah. But like, I had a fucking blast. My set, I was like, this is legit.
Yeah, just the whole vibe of it was great. The lighting. And that's another check mark on how dumb Second City was. They got rid of JB. They fucking canceled Up because Michael Alexander, whatever the fuck his name was, wife wanted to together and tour it.
And then they only booked 2 black headliners, Godfrey and Carmichael.
Dude,
and then Calvin
Carlos Mencia add up.
So did Zanies though. So
I said, Carlos Mencia, really dope dude. I sat in the green room with him at a Fox 32 thing. Sure. Really fucking nice guy. Kind of gave me this whole in 5 minutes, like a comedy 101, a little bit of his life.
I mean, he's a smart dude, bro.
He's like, yo, I fucked up. He was like, I tried to take the quick way out because I was getting all this fucking fame. And he's like, I don't regret it, but I regret. You know what I mean? It's like I wouldn't be sitting here
as an artist and as a creative. It's a stain on your career.
It is, yeah.
But at the same time, personally, he's fucking made a living out of it. He's rich because of it. His family's taking care of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only thing that makes me mad about the whole Carlos Mencia is me being Mexican, and then when you hear about his name really being Ned. But at the same time, I don't know these people. I don't know if they're telling the truth.
Yeah. I mean, half the comics, that
but I will say this.
Have pseudonyms, you know what I'm saying?
But I will say this, though. I saw him live at the Vernon Hills Zanies, which was the first one they closed. This Vernon Hills, like an hour north of here. That was just before I did stand-up. I used to like Carlos Mencia because I would see his shit on YouTube when YouTube was new. And then all my cousins were big Carlos Mencia fans. And aside from Paul Rodriguez, who's kind of already getting washed up at that time, and George Lopez, who was already blown up, Carlos Mencia was the only other Latino comic that you heard of. So I saw him live, right? Funny as shit. But the way he said Beaner 10 million times. My wife was born in Mexico. She walked out like, fuck that motherfucker. Yeah. Hope the cartel snatches his ass up and fucking cuts his head off. Like,
hey, it's like some, like, even myself, like, I was saying niggas sometimes. I'm like, I don't like the way I said that. I'm a little nasally, and it kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, every now and again, my black card has to go for, I have to renew it. And they're like, man, last time the way you was talking wasn't like this time. But yeah, no, it's just, it's just one of those things, man, where comics are able to do so many different things, and like just to be pinpoint laser focused. If it's a goal of yours to get booked different places, that's that's one thing. But like to put all your eggs in a basket
into
of like,
one basket.
That place does, you know what I'm saying? That place don't fuck with me, because I hear it all the time. Like whether it's Zanies, whether it's Laugh Act, and I think for someone of like your caliber and different comics like that's like that tier above. Like now it's just a benchmark. It's like like. I should be headlining this motherfucker.
Yeah, you should.
But somebody who's just like coming up in the game to be like, yo, like they don't fuck. It's like, of course they don't fuck with you. Like,
and not only that,
nobody knows you.
Not only that, but it's one of the like you got to take what comes to you, man. You can't be picky. If you're 5-6 years in, you can't be like, because I know, and it's usually a black comic or a Latino comic, because we have these fucking egos. All right, all my black friends had an ego like, I'm better. I don't fuck with. Nah, they don't. Nah, fuck. I'm better than that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, there's levels to this shit, bro.
Yeah.
Even you, as funny as you are, there's still a level where you got to get to.
Yeah, and the confidence level is what makes y'all great too.
And
you know what I mean?
you're not gonna be in front of the same crowd all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Just because you rocked it in this little hood ass spot on the south side doesn't mean you're gonna rock it in the north side, in the fucking River North or something, right?
It's different.
So, I can see how, like, you get to a point where like, all right, I'm hot shit, but there's a point. None of us are hot shit until you're signed and doing something big on TV. You know what I mean? So that's why I always approached it that way. I used to get disgruntled you know what used to make me mad? The people they would book.
Yeah, of course.
Like it was never
it's
like
comparison, yeah.
It was never like they don't fuck with me. It was more like they booking him and not me? All right, motherfucker.
Yo, it's nothing better than when, like, you know, Joey gets, like, you know, Comedy Central, or, you know, somebody gets, like, signed on a deal, does a TV show where it's like, yo, I got this. Like, when you get something like that, of course you're going to say, you know,
yeah,
like,
I got my shit. But at the same time, it motivates me because when a garbage comic gets some Comedy Central
like,
shit,
okay.
I'm always like, all right, I can do it.
They can get it. I know I can
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
I just got to go take the right
it's
avenue.
It's just a change of the mentality.
Yeah, it's a change of mentality.
But it is funny to see when, you know, when y'all get, you know, all this great stuff that's happening. Like, I always turn around and I look at everybody else. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said, I'm like, let me see who's like fake excited. Like, oh, bro, you get it. They was saying shaking hand and fucking checking your pockets for a fucking business card and shit. Like, who the fuck you get a hold of to get this shit?
You ain't happy
like,
for me, man. You ain't happy for me.
Yo, I was just looking today, and Jane Wiseman, who was the head of comedy and original programming at Netflix, is gone. Like, they're doing like a whole like shape shift.
Dude, right after we
thing
did the
going
Ringers thing, Comedy Central fired out like everybody. Ann Harris.
We're gonna do was it the Up Next or Comedy Central Presents?
Well, luckily they squeezed in the Live at the Cellar, the Comedy Central present.
Yeah.
They squeezed that in before they let it go. But
but it's crazy. Like a lot of people who were
so that recently happened
pushers.
at Netflix.
Yeah, that happened early October.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I was just like kind of, you know, I'm always like LinkedIn searching around and shit, like who's doing what, and I had read an article that Netflix was doing all this like rearranging, and there's like a whole like book coming out about how year to year, like if you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing for that year, like you're out at Netflix.
Done, right?
Like,
Yeah.
But maybe that's what makes them so great. I don't know if it'll catch up to them.
Honestly, the streaming industry is so fucking competitive. You can't fuck around,
insane.
bro.
Yeah, it is insane.
I mean, look how
especially
easily
the money.
Hulu. I mean, 2 years ago, I was making fun of Hulu. I was like, Hulu, that.
Right.
I got an antenna. I watch Channel 5. I fucking Hulu. I fucking love Hulu now. I pay that monthly
Kill
fee.
for a Hulu
and I watch
deal.
fucking
Like,
Hulu.
yo, like I got a special coming out on Hulu. Like,
Yeah,
all
like,
the streaming shit.
We used to make fun of, what was the shit before IG, Vine? Remember Vine? Yeah. All right. There was Vine. I was like, I'm fucking with this. But as soon as Instagram did that little Vine trick, I'm in that motherfucker, yo.
The only one was CISO that came out that like basically flopped. Like Quibi just flopped too, but CISO was like that pure
CISO.
stand up.
The
Like, they were giving money away to everybody for like shows and shit, and then it was like grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's another thing too, man. I mean, people. I always feel like in this industry, when one person that has kind of like if I ever wanted to be a fucking comedy producer, all right, if I've always had that dream in my head, social media kind of gave motherfuckers false dreams. Where,
of course,
if all right, he's doing it, I'm gonna try it. It doesn't fucking. You know how many Mikey O's we've had in Chicago, bro? That would call me. Like, there was people that would call me to backstab Mikey O. Like,
damn.
Hey, bro, fuck that north side shit. You know what we could do on the south side, bro?
Blue Island? You heard of it?
And I'm thinking, like, motherfucker, you know how much cocaine you do? I know you. Yeah, you're a good DJ. You throw some dope parties, but you a wild motherfucker. Irresponsible motherfucker.
Life, yeah.
So I can see how people could be like, I could do that. I could do that. Not everybody could do that. Original content on internet is one of the hardest things to come up with, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as a comic, that's what I did during the quarantine. I literally sat on my couch with a fucked up leg, just grinding my fucking brain of ideas. What can I do?
Comics, take note
I don't want to do
this.
Zoom shows all the time for money, like stand-up Zoom shows.
Yeah.
Like, should I do a little
Spec scripts and
IGTV?
yeah,
I was just
man.
thinking, like, what the fuck? That's how I came up with this idea. Like, you know what? Once shit starts to slow down and I can walk a little easier, I'm gonna knock out these podcast episodes because I've always wanted my own radio show. I've always wanted that.
Yeah.
So there's a way where being creative, right? You can find your own fucking way, man. Don't stop trying to do what another motherfucker's doing, man.
Creators create. There's so many stories and testaments of, do CYSK, Comedians You Should Know, is a
how many transitions did they go through just to get it tight?
Yeah. I'm trying to make this not hyper local, but Comedians You Should Know is a benchmark show here in Chicago that now is on each coast, and it all started from a group of comics that weren't getting in as zanies. Like some of the greatest shit comes from, dude, if the door shuts, you make your own door. You know what I'm saying? Go through the window. Like, there's all different types. Like, I've gotten shit on, you know what I'm saying, and applied for things and different things, but I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna find a way. This one didn't work. Like, science field didn't work. All right, cool, pivot. Go over comedy. You start from the bottom, work your way up. It's a long fucking road, but when you look
if you
back
stay on
and you
one of those
see,
paths, bro.
Yeah, I'm just like, man, the shit that I went through, just like the most extreme poverty. You know what I'm saying? Like,
people don't know, man.
Like, dude,
I mean,
unemployment, fucking link, all that shit. Like, it all was worth it at the end of the day, and I'm not ashamed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not
Never
ashamed about
man.
none of the shit.
The last show I did at Mikey O's, I talked about how getting your lights and gas turned off. You know what I mean? And I'm like, clap if you got your lights turned off, and nobody clapped. Like, you lying motherfucker.
Right,
you just don't want to admit it, bitch. And then some people were like, all right.
I was talking to my buddy, like, when I was in college, I had no money. Like, my family was scraping, to get by. So I never leaned on them because I already knew how hard they were working, just, you know what I'm saying, to keep shit afloat. So I'm like, all this extracurricular shit I'm doing, like, I got to get it on my own. And so, I had the minute phone, you know what I'm saying? So we'd be going to party and we'd be like going down to Purdue. I was like, hey, we got to stop at this gas station real quick. I can get some minutes on my phone. And my boy Steve.
Buy a little card and shit.
Yeah,
that's wild.
And dude, I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a honey was a great call, but I had like 4 minutes left on the phone, you know what I'm saying? But my mom calls me and I'm talking to her for 2 hours.
That's great. I had one of those VTech phones or some shit. Yeah.
And we're just, we're talking about it, but all this shit, dude, looking back, it was like, it's fun, you know what I mean? Like, just the thrill of getting your phone and shit.
No, yeah. And see, that's the thing too, man. Like, I had a family at the fucking age of 21, man. I had my second daughter at 22. See, I had a full fucking family, before I did stand-up. And like, there was times where I would say to myself, I regret not starting stand-up at 18. I've always wanted to do stand-up. Martin Lawrence hosting Def Comedy Jam is what made me want to do stand-up. Nobody brings up Martin Lawrence, but he was my inspiration to do stand-up. Early 90s, Martin was one of the funniest motherfuckers ever.
Hands down, yeah.
That fucking You So Crazy special is hilarious. You watch it now. And it's still funny as fuck. The whole part about like white people coming to ask for toothpaste. Remember, like, well, he's like, if one black person asked for toothpaste, they're like, what do you want? Can't you read? Toothpaste. He's like, but if a bunch of us like tell us, look, it's right here. Look it.
If you look up on aisle 6, it says it. It says
toothpaste. You just have to read. Tooth. Use your vowels. Now watch this.
A gang of black people ask that same shit. Excuse me. Can you tell us?
What a toothpaste. This special made me want to do stand-up, bro.
Get some toothpaste from? Sure, I'll show you. Come on.
Tartar control.
What are you looking for? Colgate, Aim? What do you want there? Tartar control?
Man, him hosting Def Comedy Jam, like
he was funnier than some of the comics, bro.
By a mile.
Every episode.
Yeah. Between him and Chris Tucker, those are probably two of the best Def Comedy Jam,
But yeah,
comedians that for me at least, there's a ton that came from it, but those two were probably, that was like when I consider like my generation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that special I think came out in 94.
Yeah, that was a couple years after.
Right after the show ended. Oh, no, it was during that. It was
during because they switched hosts.
That's when Martin was fucking just doing everything, writing movies and all that shit. Yeah, he fucking drove himself nuts. Yeah. But yeah, watching Martin Lawrence like host Def Comedy Jam and then do that first special, and then the shit, he's talking about political shit, he's talking about his family. He does that long bit about the girl at the end, the jealous girl. Mm-hmm. And when I remember when I wanted to start doing stand-up, when I wanted to, about 2021, growing up in the hood, you don't know where to start. You don't know comedians. You just know the funny motherfuckers you grew up with.
It's like how I get on TV. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Who do you talk to get you up there? You know what I mean? And I grew up with some of the funniest roasters. Curtis, I'll tell you right now, this is what I don't like about people talking shit on these comedians talking shit about on Facebook. I'll roast all these motherfuckers, man. Like, I used to roast, bro. Like, I would hurt your feelings,
Yeah,
man.
like you want to fight.
I had a couple of my friends whoop my ass. You're going too far, bro. Fuck you, you Chinese motherfucker. Ta, 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 ta. You know, like, you know my boy Louis Win?
Yeah.
He whooped my ass a couple of times. Cause I used to be like, you're an extra in the movie. You know the fucking Chuck Norris movies. Look, my friend is Vietnamese, man. And he was the first Vietnamese dude in the hood. So I used to be like, motherfucker, you played a fucking refugee and missing in action. You know what I mean? Everybody cracking up, dude. Like,
dying. Like, you mad as hell over
Chuck
the corner.
Norris, whoop your dad's ass. Yeah, man, I was that motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, when I used to do that at work when I first got that city job. Everybody was like, "Oh, you funny as
Yeah.
shit." Because I used to do the celebrity thing. Like, if you look like a
Oh,
celebrity,
I see the rest of them.
I was one of those motherfuckers. You know, like, if you look like, oh, you look at this Burt Reynolds looking motherfucker. Like, dang, he does look like
Yeah.
this. You know, I was one of those dudes.
You know, another thing too with just like the shit talking, like you always have to have thick skin. And I came up around.
I got roasted.
My family and my, you know what I'm saying, like my friends, like just like jonesing or whatever on each other. Like there would be times where I would be crying. You know what I'm saying? I'm younger too. Like all my family, like the people I hung out with was like
right.
way older than me. And it's like, oh, look at your
your
teeth,
little
like
ass.
you ain't doo-doo then. I'm like, shut up. I be trying to fight everybody.
Hell
Got my
yeah.
ass beat trying to fight a motherfucker that was roasting me. And you get thick skin, number one. You get a sense of humor, number two.
Yep.
And it's easier. Like, there's very few things that are ever said on stage that offend me. You know what I'm saying? Very few. Like, maybe two things I think I've ever heard in my life that I was just like, But even then, I'm like, you know, it's for them. You know what I'm saying? It ain't for me.
It's not for you.
But, you know, so someone who's like booking, you know, and is in charge of kind of being the litmus test, I start to see now the way that people react to jokes, whether it's written, you know, whether it's like a meme, whether it's something, you know, somebody posts on Facebook or something that somebody says on stage. And like the tight butthole, because I feel like I hear so many comics now
And then
on
they
stage
say that.
talking about the tight butthole, and it's like, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, don't address the
Don't
room.
address it.
Keep it.
I never
moving.
understood why comics. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's times where comedy bar could be one of the roughest rooms.
just
That's
feel
why I like comedy bar.
Yeah.
I love the comedy bar because I would always walk in there where if I have a good set here, that shit's gonna work. Because it's always one of those crowds. They don't know what's gonna hit them.
Comedy bar is probably the closest to like a Southside room as you can get on the North Side.
and
It's
a
like,
lot of
you
comics,
gotta work for that shit.
A lot of comics will say that there. Oh, the tight buttholes. They're tourists, motherfucker. They don't know.
Yeah, like-
They're literally sitting here like, what's gonna happen?
Right? Like, I don't hear this shit when I'm, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? And that was like how we discovered a lot of, you know, the shit you heard on
So
the
then-
comedy gym, the shit you heard, you never heard that shit before.
Yeah, and then you got a white comic go up there talking about, I was masturbating last night. These motherfuckers are looking at
Like, you,
like, really?
you
Oh,
said that
really,
on
guys?
stage? Yeah.
tight buttholes. You guys don't masturbate. Like, dude, you just opened up with that. All right.
And now they're completely just focused on that piece. So that whole
They don't give a fuck
guy
what you say
that
after
you were
that.
that you were taking them on, now is completely derailed.
You're still
everything
the
you said
asshole that
before
masturbated.
that. Yeah, any setups, any, you know what I'm saying, shit you were setting up for a punch. Now that shit's not gonna hit, and now they're a bad audience
Yep.
because you derailed yourself because you're in your head about their reaction to every, you know, the that
now-
you say on stage.
To you, they don't like your shit.
Exactly.
No, to me, I always look at it. They just don't like you as a
Yeah.
person now because they don't know you, and that's the first impression.
Yeah.
And
Until they're booing you off stage, they're giving you a chance.
they're giving you a chance, exactly. Which, if you would have did that in front of a black crowd, they would have probably been like,
They'd
"Oh,
have booed you
hell."
off stage. Yeah.
You would have heard somebody say,
You-
"Hell, no."
Yeah, man.
Or
That's the
something.
thing about us, man. Like, we
I
we
started in black
react
rooms.
immediately. We react immediately and vocally. So if it's some shit that we like, you're
gonna hear somebody.
is stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you're like, if we say you stupid, like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That make
But
you
if,
funny as
it's
hell.
quiet and you hear like a black woman in the back say, "Oh, hell no," or "What the fuck?"
Take it for what it's worth, but
What the
keep on,
fuck? Yeah,
keep
it's
on
done.
because you can always turn them in like, I ain't like you at first, and then
Yup.
let you know like I wasn't fucking with you.
And
But
black
then you
people will
said
tell you
this
that
thing.
after a show.
Yeah,
A black woman, it's usually a black woman. They'll tell you, "I ain't think you was funny at first, but
Until you said
but yeah,
this,
I like you." All right, okay, cool.
they probably give you suggestions like I probably wouldn't really talk about that shit like you were saying, but like that other shit that
see,
was funny.
And that's one of my, like, I always give new a lot of motherfuckers, you got any advice?
Yeah.
I always tell motherfuckers to be yourself. People can tell when you fake, man.
100%.
All right? If you're going up there talking about, I'm not going to name but there's a certain comic that would go on stage talking about, "Your girl was sucking my dick." And we're like, nobody
No, they
was
weren't.
sucking
No, they
your
weren't.
dick,
At all.
dude.
Yeah, that's a
Even
lie.
if you were gay, a gay dude would not suck your dick.
That was a whole.
All right, so relax with getting the dick sucked. But, you can kind of tell.
yeah.
So I always tell comics that, look, just be yourself. But
Yeah.
at the same time, just try to get the audience. If you're a douchebag comic, if that's your style, do what you do. But if you're not, always try to get the audience to like you within the first 30 seconds, man. Because once they like you in that first minute, then everything else, it just falls in place. Even if you do a masturbating joke at the end of your set, by that time, they like your shit. They're already, they like your character. They like your personality. Now you could talk about masturbating.
Yeah. I was just telling somebody, I'm like, Ed DeBevic's closed. You know what I'm saying? Like, when people come, they buy a ticket. You know what I'm saying? We'll say, like, $20 a ticket. It's 4 of us. That's $80 right there. $80 out the gate. Tax, whatever. You get there, whatever. Take an Uber from downtown. We're coming from out of town, so we already spent it. You know what I'm saying? They have a lot invested in it. And nobody's asking you to kiss the crowd's ass, but no one's coming to a show to there are definitely
see an amateur comic.
Yeah, but there's 2 different types. There's the people who want to be a part of the show, and there are people who want to see the show. You know what I'm saying? So like, but 90% of the crowd, 95% of the crowd want to see the show. So they want you to, you know what I'm saying, talk your shit, do what you do. But then like there's some who just want to go straight into berating the crowd. It's like, damn, I just spent, you know what I'm saying, got my girl here in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like you're kind of like the wingman for a lot of these motherfuckers.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You
like,
might get this do some coochie tonight.
Like, so like you want to give them, they probably had some bullshit day, bullshit week, you know, somebody made a pass, they lost a job,
and
whatever.
you might be the only happy, smiley, laugh.
The light at the end of the tunnel is I'm finna go see this show on the weekend. I got, you know, my girl Tinder day, whatever, like anniversary, birthday, whatever the case may be. So like your job, your main job is to provide entertainment for the, you know what I'm saying? So like it's hard to imagine someone whose whole shtick, now if you're good at it, you're good at it, but like very few people are good at just being the shit on the crowd angry comic. And
not even shit on the crowd, just that angry fucking piece of shit persona. Like the perfect motherfucker that pulls it off is Dale McPeak.
Oh, 100, yeah.
Like he goes up there like, yeah, motherfuckers, what? I look like this. I
love
bitches.
you, Dale. Dale gets on stage and then looks like a scumbag. So he like, if you say anything else other than you,
he looks the part.
You think I give a fuck about you?
Yeah, he looks the part, and he and his jokes are fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
shout out to Dale. He's like out in the fucking
he's on the desert and
shit.
Yeah, but I've seen comics, man, go up there and just like, no, you're not. You know what I mean? Like there was a girl comic who's kind of bad, and she's, especially right now with the political shit, she's a little shit talker on Facebook. But I remember I did a show with her at a boat, one of those yacht fucking on the lake. It was on the yacht. I mean, on the yacht yard. It wasn't on the yacht. It was just where they at the dock. It was
with
in
like
the
backdrop of boats.
Yeah, there's a big bunch of boats in the back, but we're inside this little room, private, where they got a little private bar and all that shit. Pat Chase used to book this through one of his buddies. So she was on the show, and it was always like them fucking, you know, like them fucking Oxycontin, Valium popping white women, man. Wine drinking, having, you know, oh my God, my husband owns a boat.
He looked like my gardener Rodrigo.
Yeah, exactly. Where's my pool boy? Like it was a lot of those, like them kind of people, right? So after the show, we would go outside and kick it. So I'm smoking a cigarette or a joint with like 3 or 4 rich white women, and they said it like about her. They're like, that girl was so full of shit. And it's coming from a white woman talking about another white woman. So I'm like, who? She's like, the girl comic. You could tell. Oh my God, that was not real. And I'm like, and I'm just like, it wasn't. To me, I'm just like, it wasn't funny. I'm just
like real. It just wasn't funny.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about it.
Which
real
one does equal the next? But I think for a lot of people.
But for people to pick that up.
Yeah.
The fakeness in your shit. You know, she's up there talking about I dated these black dudes and the girl, like afterwards, one of the white girls like, I dated a black guy. That sounded like she's like if she dated a black guy.
Like she clearly was just watching Tyler Perry movies and
so yeah, like people pick that shit up, man. I mean,
and comedy's a business. Like, and when you are turning people off, there was a comic that has started like hosting like a late night show, and you know their whole shtick was like kind of immediately abusing the crowd. They say some shock value shit, get the reaction that they wanted to get, and then use that to kind of go in and kind of break.
But if they didn't get the reaction, it derailed the whole thing.
Yeah, like either way, they were gonna go in and shit. Like they would even laugh, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna talk about hoes," you know, kind of go into that whole thing. And you know, it's like one of those things where like when you're walking comedians, we'll just go from a business perspective. Somebody comes in the first, 5 to 10 minutes of the show, you're a host, you're the first comic up, one of the two, and you walk people, that is now money walking out the door.
Yeah, I mean,
Number one, you know what I'm saying? At the end of that is now money walking out the door that probably will not come back. So now you can just like chalk that up, and it kind of spreads, because usually the people that'll walk or are dissatisfied with something, or like will act it out, will leave a bad review. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody comes in town, they're like, hey, like, where do you want to go? And you start, thumbing through.
You go through the reviews, man.
And we can't, I'm not gonna put on the website, don't read the Yelp. You know what I'm saying? Like fuck what they talking about. We still a good comedy club. Like, because at the end of the day, you have a lot of first time, your generic, comedy fans know a handful of comics that, ain't performing tonight. So they're unfamiliar with kind of, the territory or the comics that are coming. And a lot of times you build your fan base on people who are casual comedy fans.
They just
now they love Joey, and you drop a comedy album, they're buying the comedy album. You do a show, they're buying tickets to your show. And you build that base.
Dude,
and somebody could fuck that up for everybody else on the lineup.
Bro, shout out to my homie Rico on Instagram. This dude, I think through a friend, they came to see me at the Improv. I featured for fucking Ari Spears. Right? And he's known to be kind of an asshole to comics, but he found a liking to me. He's best friends with Angelo Lozado. Rest in peace. Who passed away.
Man.
But Angelo was like, he hit me up. Like, look, Aries could be rough to work with. Tell him you my guy. Like, they went to high school together.
Oh, right.
So that I remember when I got there, I'm like, Aries, Angelo said, he's like, oh, Angelo? I'm like, yeah, that's my homie. He's like, all right, cool. And Aries was like, he came back the next year and like requested that I featured for him.
What's up.
Well, this dude Rico saw me there. Like, I think he was with like 4 people. When I headlined the Improv, like 6 months later, brought like 20 fucking people, bro.
Right.
Then a year after that, I headlined again, brought another 15 people.
And now to somebody who runs the club,
they bought my album already. Like, he even tagged me.
Yeah, dude, that
Album's
shit
tight.
matters, man. That shit matters.
It fucking matters, yo.
All that minutia, like Stephanie, people out there see is, I booked Joey. Joey brought people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I booked Joey. Put up on the website.
You sell tickets.
50 tickets.
You're
60
selling
tickets.
tickets,
Boom,
man.
out the gate. And so, all of that, it's a casserole, you know what I'm saying, of everything. That's why I tell people, hey, if you're great at stand-up, right.
The dude's been a fan of mine for 5-6 years now with people, like more people.
Yeah, and bring,
So they follow your career. These are not just two gig fan base. These people want to see what you got coming next.
Yeah, and you never, ever, ever know who's in the audience. I can't stress this enough. There's a comic
who
is a vet who I have looked up to my entire comedy career and when I was younger, because, they did like Comic View and Def Comedy Jam. And this particular comic, like, never really performs a laugh. He doesn't do clubs. I said he, so it's he, he. Anyway, and I hit him up. He hit me up for a spot thinking I booked the LA club.
Oh.
And I was like, no, I was like, I'm Curtis. Like, I booked the Chicago. He was like, oh, damn it. But then I was just like, because I always kind of wondered, because I looked at our messages, me hitting him up, like, hey, man, yo, anytime you want to come through, and nothing. I was like, hey, yo, like, also, I sent all these, so you should know I booked the Chicago club. But I think he was just looking for a contact to get on at the LA club. And I was like, yo, like, why don't you ever do the Chicago club? Like, we pack it out, you get it. He's like, yeah, I'll do a showcase show in LA, because it's like agents and different people out there. He's like, but yeah, for their like $60, $80 at the lab, he's like, nah, he's like, you gotta pay me more, kind of bullshit. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I just put together like 2 or 3 comics with 8, you know what I'm saying? Because like they came like, hey, like, what's this, comics info? Like, I went to show, what, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, you never know who's in the crowd. And if you're in Chicago trying to have a career, like, move to LA if that's the case. If you're like trying
so he lives here?
Yeah, he lives here.
Oh, yeah.
He lives here. And it's just like, it was just one of those things. And as time has passed and those opportunities have kind of dried up,
especially right now with the COVID shit,
to get those messages, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, they're super funny. And so, like I said, I always thought, they were hilarious and, looked up to them, it was like kind of the bar for, all right, this is funny right here. You know what I'm saying? So like, we fuck around, but like that shit always really kind of irked me, because I'm like, damn, you would only use our club if there was like you know what I'm saying?
If there was an opportunity to get
you up all the time in LA, have no problem being on the line out there because you feel like that.
And I'll tell you this right now, and you've been out there, you've been to LA, right? I mean, the comedy scene is dope in a sense where the industry is just there.
Yeah, it's just there.
But it's no fucking different, bro.
It's not. It's really not. The names are different on the lineup. And
there's industry here. Yeah. People come to Chicago to look for shit, but I've done the circuit in LA where the biggest thing was for me was the Comedy Store, which I just wanted to perform in the main room. With all these
that's a
motherfuckers. That was
bucket
dope.
list for any comic.
Yeah, I never expected an agent to be in the crowd to be like,
Yeah.
yo, we want you on.
Yeah.
To me, it
and
was
by
like,
the time you got there, you didn't need one.
yeah, to me, I'm like, I'm on the lineup with Mark Maron, Bill Burr. I don't give a fuck. I'm just here doing this. But like that whole fucking like, there is no Hollywood anymore.
Yeah, I think that's what hurts me.
People are leaving LA now
Yeah.
because of the coronavirus.
Between Brian Morton, myself, James, there are people in Chicago that are actively trying to build industry. And this isn't the like first wave of
It's happened before.
It's a different age, the technology and different access to content. It makes it a little bit more accessible. But like people have been trying for ever to create industry in Chicago, and what happens is it's hard to keep the talent here because all they keep seeing is the coast. Like as much as like more opportunities start to come in the city and you can tangibly see it, it's like next to you, like your guy just got on and is living here and doing it. Like it's still this like kind of magnetic force that like
New York, LA.
That moves people out. So I think about like what hurt me about that kind of exchange was like, I'm just thinking to myself like, bro, do you not see what is like happening right here? And if you just bought into it, if everybody buys into the shit, like Chicago can be, you know what I'm saying? Like the place. It's centrally located to both coasts. You know what I'm saying? It's Midwest.
No more than a 4-hour flight anywhere you go, man.
Anyone from all over the country, if you're going to a major,
you're going to Florida,
city,
Washington, New York,
in the Midwest, you're going to Chicago. There's like nowhere else in the Midwest that people are like actively traveling to, tourism, like or
even
shit.
to get into any kind of entertainment industry. They're coming here.
Yeah, you come in here, you're sharpening your tools. So like you're getting to see all of this, and then obviously the bigger places, agencies and industry, NBC, ABC, all these different places are poaching from Chicago. You know what I'm saying? They're hitting me up. They're hitting different people. Like, hey, like who's doing what? Like after they take a big chunk out, they're like, who's next? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you kind of get that. So like the opportunity is here because the eyes are here. You know what I'm saying?
And I will say this, man, as a comic on the fucking grind in Chicago, and I've been to LA and New York. I wasn't in New York long enough to get on the scene, but when you just hear it, all right, New York is probably, aside from Chicago, is the only other city Chicago is the only other city aside from New York where you're gonna get up on stage 4 or 5 times a night.
Yeah.
But when you're already established, it's so hard in LA. If you're not on TV, you're not getting up.
Yeah, I mean Drew Michael, who is probably one of the funniest comics to leave the city, and has done incredible things kind of since moving. When he first moved out, he would come back regularly. It was like he never moved.
Just to work on it.
Yeah, it was like he never moved. And
work.
he was always here. He's like, I cannot get this out there. It's like the one thing I miss. Like Megan Gailey, all these, huge comics
and they all
now.
tell you that. When you go to LA, they all tell you that.
When they come back, that's
like they'll ask
what
me,
do you
like,
miss?
damn, how'd you line up 6 gigs this week? I'm like, because I made all these phone calls in Chicago.
Also, as a traveling
once
comic,
you move there,
you're
done.
If I moved somewhere, I would continue to hit up bookers like I was just in town.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, damn, I saw you. Like,
I'm right
with
next
your
door. I'm like,
pajamas
hey,
and
I'll
shit.
be in town next week.
Right.
I'm right next door to your ass.
Like
man.
I saw you in the leasing office. You live here.
Yeah,
now.
right,
Like you got me.
I think there is a positive trend though that's kind of people have stopped leaving en masse
because they've went. A lot of have went and came back. Like it ain't that.
But it's even
it ain't
like,
what you think it is, man.
Remember, let's say like 6 years ago, you would see 20, 30 comics leave and go to the coast. Now, every single year since then,
it's getting smaller.
It
and
just
smaller.
gets smaller.
20.
You get more
10, then 5.
Not
Last
only that-
year, I think 3 people left.
Yeah, but on top of that, you're getting an influx of young comics coming from these small towns here to start. Because the LA and New York dream is too big yet.
Yeah.
There is definitely there's been an awakening.
Yeah. I will also say, kind of to your point, like the reason for leaving, like a lot of people left with like no plan. You know what I'm saying? They're like,
yeah,
we're going
you
out
gotta
to
have a
make
fucking plan.
people that are
Allure,
leaving
dude.
has very tangible thing. Like I'm going to shoot this. You know what I'm saying? Like I already, but you know what I mean? And they move for logistic purposes. It's like I
but
can't just keep flying back.
But the whole fucking
Imagine leaving with no plan.
No, I mean, look. I mean, there's a lot, bro.
Yeah,
I will say this though.
Oh man.
I will say this. Having kids and a family is what stopped me from moving without a plan. Because I wanted to. There was a point when I got laid off from the city in 2012. I was going through that like, fuck Chicago. I'm gonna go do this and I'll feed my kids from over there. And then I had I went to New York in 2009, and then I realized, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh wait a minute, shit, New York is way too expensive.
Yeah.
Then I went to LA, and I'm like, wait, the rent here is fucking insane. No public transit. I thought about all that shit.
Yeah.
I just didn't say, fucking let me. I still had kids to feed, man. And I will say this, as a stand-up comic, you move to LA with that fucking, that's Hollywood and that's where I'm going to make it. If you move with only that, it's going to be fucking rough, man. Because that's what makes people quit.
Yeah,
you literally quit.
I see it
stand-up
play
comedy.
out. I see it play out on social media, having conversations with people. I just see the
you're gonna
bright
go through some
lights and
depressing
sparkly
shit.
eyes, and then it just dims and dims. And dims.
Well,
dog,
because you're not
I
the
mean,
only one
Curtis-
out there doing that.
Yeah.
There's
And Curtis,
1,000 others out there.
No, I don't know if anybody who
Who've been
lives in
there
LA
longer
is
than-
born in LA.
But not
Right.
just, it's
Yeah.
not even that, James. It's, you got to be built for this fucking industry because in your head, all right, I want to entertain people. I want to be in the business, right? But when you see how competitive, how cutthroat it is, once you're in it, there's people that just can't fucking handle it, man.
Yeah.
I never thought about actually quitting, like, I'm never doing stand-up again. But there was a point where I was like, fuck all those auditions. They don't fuck with my material.
Yeah.
I'm not for them. And honestly, when I stopped giving a fuck about doing those auditions and just doing my comedy, everything started to fall in place.
Got that DM.
Everything started to fucking fall in place, bro. I stopped worrying about pleasing that executive and
Yeah.
getting my shit on NBC or wherever the fuck contest came through, Last Comics.
Yeah.
I stopped giving. To me, it was more like, get your material tight, get your hour tight, get a fucking album out there, get a special, try to get a special. Eventually, it'll work if you just keep putting in the work.
Exactly.
And it fucking
Yeah.
happened. It took me 3-4 years to do that straight. Where I'm getting on stage 10 times a week. No sleep.
Yeah.
Still getting up in the morning, taking my kids to school, doing all that shit. On
You
top
the-
of that,
you the
smoking
real
weed,
MVP for
drinking,
having kids and doing this shit.
and that's what a lot of I had a full-time job for fucking 8 years of doing stand-up. Still getting up almost every fucking night and doing
Yeah.
Mikey O shows. So that's why you gotta have a fucking plan, man.
Yeah.
All this whole winging shit, because I've seen a lot of comics do that too. Like comics that are, they're funny
Mm-hmm.
dudes in conversation. They can hold themselves for 5 minutes, but it's like, hey man, did you write some material? Nah, I'm gonna go up to see what's up. All right, you're gonna do 30 minutes of let me see what's up. All right, let me see what's up.
Hey, that's it. Like Deion Cole could do a special called "Working It Out" because he's Deion
He's Deion Cole.
but you can't do a whole special one like, let me
I know-
see how this shit
I
goes.
know, packed ass Saturday night. You know what I mean? Somewhere, man. But all right, all right. Enough about comedy, Curtis,
Yeah, let's
because we're
pivot.
gonna be wrapping it up in about, I say, 10 more minutes. But I want to talk more about other stuff that you do,
Yeah.
especially for the city of Chicago. Because like I said, I follow you through social media. You're part of a program called Open Books, right?
Yeah, open books.
I'll be honest with you. I really don't know too much about it except that you provide books for schools and kids who just don't have access to this shit.
Yeah.
And in Chicago Public
And we're
Library, the funding in Chicago Public Library is pretty much dead. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean,
tell us a little
it's-
more about Open Books.
So yeah, Open Books we are a literacy nonprofit here in Chicago. One of our biggest pieces to our mission is access to books, building home libraries, providing access to books for members of the community in Chicago that lack the access. You hear of food deserts and different communities in the city that don't have access to food. Really, at the same clip, you lack that same access to books. And really, when you say lack access to books, you're really saying you lack the resources to a proper education. So you're not being able to really kind of like build from within the community. You have homes, multi-generational homes, black and brown, that have generations of people who are living illiterate, functioning
Yeah, I know.
illiterate. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
And
I live in one of those neighborhoods, bro.
you know what I mean? You see it all the time. And, so what we do is we take books, donate it. It's almost like Robin Hood complex, except for we're not stealing. We kind of give from,
not
we
stealing books
get
from the
from
rich.
anyone and everyone, willing to donate, whether that's books or financially. We repurpose those books. We have 2 retail locations. We have an online bookstore where people can, buy books and, come in and buy books, donate books. And then the best books that we get, we set aside and then we grant back out. So educators in CPS, private schools, whether community organizations, especially during COVID, we've been doing like in mass book giveaways.
I mean, yeah, 'cause
CPS has been doing.
kids are stuck in the house, man.
Yeah, they can't do anything, and you're learning virtually, and so you're really not able to have that kind of like quality reading time or quality education time. So CPS was doing food giveaway sites. So like we partnered with CPS and we were giving books away along with
shit.
kind of those essential needs, because when you really chalk it down, like books always end up on the lowest part of the totem pole pole as
Hey,
far as
bro.
like what's necessary or essential, so to speak. Food first, you know what I'm saying? Like medicine and food kind of neck and neck. And
I'll be real with you, dog. My dad read encyclopedia. My dad collected encyclopedias. That's how he learned. He
That's
take
what's up.
long shits and read encyclopedias.
Yeah.
You go in the bathroom, there's always an encyclopedia in front. But I will say this: after a while, like a lot of Mexican families, especially from my generation, just didn't fucking read. You can ask any of my friends, "When's the last time you read a book?" Man, fuck, Mice and Men, bro, 8th grade. Or Great Expectations, bro, 7th grade.
Right.
The shit the school made you read. Like, I do a joke about how like encyclopedias are only good to hold up air conditioning.
I mean,
In a Mexican household, put 2 motherfucking encyclopedias is holding that air conditioner
and the
on
thing
the 3rd
is,
floor.
and I think that's a common misconception is that like you, in order to like educate yourself, you got to read, an encyclopedia, a dictionary, or a curriculum book. No, a lot of kids, myself included, I had it good. I had access to books. I read all kinds of, you know what I mean? It really unlocks like a gateway to like a different world. You get to see different things, and it really expands
and especially
your
for
creativity
somebody
and
who
drive.
doesn't get out. Like a kid who's stuck
You're talking
in the
about
hood.
right, yeah. You're talking about a kid that's stuck in the hood. Now you're talking about a kid stuck in the hood, stuck at home. You know what I mean? Like so now
and surrounded by surrounded by fucked up shit.
Yeah,
might have family members on drugs, gangs. Like some of these kids are stuck in bad situations.
And the crazy part is a lot of times, they're in that kind of school to prison, pipeline, and it's not until they get to prison, they start reading because they're like, hey, I ain't got shit to do it. You know what I mean? And then they educate themselves, and dollars to donuts. Everyone who's kind of gone through that struggle, like says, man, I wish I would have had access, to these things, or would have known the importance of reading.
I have a brother who's been through
on.
the prison. I mean, he's been in the last 15 years. He's done 11 years in prison, bro. And he went in young. Like my brother, I mean, he caught a gun charge at the age of like 16. He was in trouble young. And thinking back, like I even think back about the shit I did in front of him. I did a lot of fucked up shit in front of him with my friends, chopping up pounds of weed, bagging up weed and cocaine in front of my little brother when we were young. And it's true. I mean, when I think about it now, it's kind of like, fuck, the park had wood shop classes. This is when the city provided fucking shit for kids. You know what I mean? And we just never took advantage of it. You know what I mean? Like the park at the corner got a little league fucking squad. None of us were like baseball. Like, nah, I'm selling this little weed and fucking chill.
Yeah, the thing is, like, they were those opportunities were there, and like
was
you're
just
like
never pushed on you.
Yeah, and so it's kind of one of those things too, where like you don't know your potential or opportunities are out there if it's not presented for you. Books do provide that, but
It was
also
never
role
pushed
models
on
and
us.
examples. You know what I mean? Like as much as like my parents when I was coming up, and some of my friends, my cousins' parents, like pushed school. It wasn't in a way that was like cool. You know what I mean? Like it was like
my dad used to joke. My dad used to be like,
like,
"You're not going to college. Why not? Because look at you, who you hang out with. Like, damn, dog, you just
exactly.
All right, you know what I mean? Like,
and the thing about especially in Hispanic communities, like the access to bilingual or Spanish language books are
back
like
in the day,
nothing fucking existent. So at Open Books at our Pilsen location, we actually have
and a lot of those kids don't speak
Libreria
English.
Gonzalez. So it's a whole pay what you can bookstore at our Pilsen location that is nothing but Spanish language. It's the only one in the city. Started by Pablo Higuera.
Shit.
It took a tour throughout the continental United States, and then ended up in Chicago at the Chicago Cultural Center, and then we procured that from the Chicago Cultural Center. So now it sits at our Pilsen location.
Oh, damn.
We also have a contact-free bookstore. So during COVID, obviously, like all the bookstores were closed, and this is a contact-free self-service bookstore. All kids' books are free. All kids' books for the most part, I would say like 99% of the time at Open Books are completely free, whether it's a teacher, a parent, just that solicited books. We have the Imagination Library that mails free books every month to kids from birth until they start school.
Oh, shit.
Then they graduate from that program. You kind of go into our book granting program. And so kind of what we want to do is from birth until
and you have to do that, bro.
You know what I mean? Access to books.
I got to give my wife props for that because I worked a full-time job when my daughters were little, but my kids read all the fucking time. Like, my wife is the one that put that on them. Like, let's go to the library. They had library cards. We live 2 blocks away from the fucking library. But my wife was the one. Pick them up from school.
Yeah.
We're going to the library. Pick 2 books and you're going to read them shits. Like, both of my daughters would read a lot of books. And I was the dude like, oh, y'all reading? All right, cool. But I will say this. I don't read books. But reading, I mean, as a comedian, as somebody who has to keep up with shit, I read a lot. I fucking read news articles.
You do it. You almost take it for granted. Like the fact that you can read. Like, it
And it's
seems like such
accessible
an
anywhere.
unfathomable concept that it's just like, you know, you read the news, you read your Facebook, you read all these different things, prescriptions, contracts, you know, at least like all of
Everything.
these things that people do not have access to. And think about it. If you're in a household, your grandmother, your father, your mother, like all of them do not know how to read. When you get homework, you can't even go home.
Can't even
you know
go
what
home.
I'm saying? So like, it just becomes perpetual, and it just and it follows you generation to generation.
And here's the part about educating, all right? Because I didn't read a lot of books, all right? But I did work for Walgreens for 6 years, all right? And I did photo. I learned a lot about photography by doing 1 hour photo.
Yeah.
Just by reading the shit that Kodak used to send us. Pamphlets on color mixing and shit like that, right? I would read these fucking things. Then I would be on the floor putting medicine up on warehouse days. You know how many labels I know ingredients in medicine, man. Like, motherfuckers be like, why can't you drink aspirin or acetaminophen? Because it's going to make your fucking water, it's going to fuck your liver up. This was from putting a box of Maalox up, and all right, let me see what fucking Maalox. All right. Just, I would read all these fucking labels on medicine, bro.
And it seems like I said, it almost seems so kind of innate or like organic that you just like, you're born to read. You know what I mean? Like, you're just born like knowing how to read. And it's like, that's
you
not
gotta
the
learn,
case.
dude.
You know, it's and you know, over 61 to 67% of low income families have no access to books. None.
Nothing.
There's not a bookstore in the community. There's not access to a public library. They damn sure don't have them in the home. And there's really no kind of recourse for, you know, how to do it. And so, you know, we have several programs. James actually has one up on the screen where, you know, people who are, you know, have means are able to buy books for communities in Chicago, CPS students that lack the access. We're currently partnered in North Lawndale with Sumner Elementary School. So for every book that you buy, that book goes directly to the kid. It's almost like, remember back in the day, Sally Struthers. It's you can provide, you know, for, you know, for 25 cents a day, you know, but you know, this is, you get to select. They're all culturally diverse. You know, there's bilingual books, you know, and so, you know, the characters are diverse, because growing up, I had no characters in a book that I could be like, yo, I want to, you know, Encyclopedia Brown was mine, and Brown was the only thing that was close to being Brown in the book was dude's last name. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, you never really got to see, you know, an example of something that you wanted to strive to become, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, like kind of in your environment, like the dope boy was like, that was the signal of success. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? The
and
hustlers and stuff were like the signal of success.
People don't know is dope boys and hustlers can read. They know how to
at least
fucking read.
Functioning, you know,
they can read,
or they count money. They, you know what I'm saying? They can read, you know, so, you know, and that's, I think those are some of the steps that, you know, get skipped along the way. And there's like a ton of statistics out about, you know, access to books and incarceration rate, access to books and violent crimes. I don't know if those, you can draw like a straight line through it. I don't think it parallels like that necessarily, but I do think that it plays a huge role.
I think it does, dude.
In the
molding
the
minds,
and
dude. It's all
and
about
choices.
molding young minds, man.
Yeah. And, you know, I've had friends who, you know, had very educated parents that really kind of pushed them through it, that didn't, you know, go the right track. You know, they kind of fell off or whatever along the way.
It's funny, is we talked about that too. There's just people that just want to be
you're gonna
gangsters.
fuck up, you're gonna fuck up. But you have to be able to set it's all
I'm
about
saying
equity.
there's people that want to be gangsters.
Oh no,
like,
exactly.
That's their
I
life
tried
goal.
very hard, and my family kept pushing me. My cousin's like, dude, if you don't get the fuck up out of here, man. I was like trying to steal like
got a gun, ma.
little CD decks, like when they had the flip face, like man, I was trying to get all of them out. And you know, after a while, I was like, man, you were not built for this. You were smart.
Nope.
You can, you know, you read well, you talk well, you know, you do all this. Like, man, go be somebody.
I mean, I was that dude.
And
they used to call me folks affiliated. That was my nickname, because I hung out. I grew up with all the folks, but they would look at me like, dog, you got a baby, you smart. Don't do this.
My cousins jumped me into a fake
this.
gang just so I could say I was OTD all day.
I jumped in the
OTD
gang
all day.
I got jumped in. I helped jump motherfuckers in. We did that. All right.
And you know, it's interesting too whenever you think about, you know, kind of the lack of access to education and equity, especially right now in like the current times that we're living in. Everyone wants to talk about equity, and I think what they miss is that if you have a kid that has like access to books and you have a kid that doesn't have access to books or any resource for that matter, and you just start giving the kid that's under resourced like the same amount of books as the kid that has books, like that's actually not equity. If somebody starts at the bottom, somebody's at the top, if you start giving the same, like there's still
their
that
mind
gap.
is not the same.
Yeah, it's beyond equity.
That kid is not doesn't have the drive and the urge to read or take
because they've
suck in
never
that much information
it's
at one time.
foreign. You know what I mean? So like you have to almost overcoach them to a point to where you normalize these things. Like it's not corny. You know, it's not these different things.
Your friends
to
are
be
gonna make
highly
fun of you because you
educated,
read 4 books
nerd,
last
all this
week,
shit.
man.
Trust me, the ones who kind of went through it, studied and learned, and kind of adapted to whatever because everybody's gonna go through shit, and people have it a lot worse than other people.
Yep.
But it's that overcoming the obstacles and and really like persevering through the shit that like kind of reads a lot better when you tell the story of somebody's life.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And the ones who was like in the books and went to college and did all that shit that you thought was like a nerd and a geek, like getting all the pussy now. You know what I'm saying? It's like
I will say this: I think that I know a way to motivate little kids because social media can be brutal, man. And if you can't read and you suck at grammar, you tell these little kids that, hey, do you want to be that motherfucker on Facebook that doesn't know the difference between looser and loser and your? Do you want to be that motherfucker? Like, no, I don't. They read these fucking books.
That's a bad look. Trust me, you do not want to be that.
It's a terrible look. Terrible. Seriously, no jokes aside, bro, because I've seen it and you see it in movies. There's nothing sadder than seeing a grown person that can't read. It's sad.
Yeah.
Like you've seen it in movies, like I think it was it League of Their Own? Like one of the girls that couldn't just never.
Oh yeah.
She never read. That's a sad part. Like,
it really
she can't
is.
read.
Yeah, and so at Open Books, before COVID hit, we had reading and writing programs, reading buddies, third grade is like one of the most pivotal, times in a child's brain development, and that's how I started as a reading mentor and a writing mentor. To a lot of the students. And what you have a lot of times is like so many kids, especially minority youth, will get put into a behavioral problem category because they have a learning disability. You know what I'm saying?
And they're just hyper kids.
They're hyper kids. But also, if you don't know how to read, and let's say you're like kind of the class bully, whatever, and like it's your turn to like read aloud and you don't know how to do it, you are not finna be embarrassed in front. So like,
you're gonna act out.
You
You're
get
gonna say
kicked out of
something fun.
class. Yeah, and so that kind of perpetuates and then becomes, oh, this kid has a behavioral issue. When really the real problem is they have a learning, not even disability.
And
they're
he doesn't
just
want to be
behind.
embarrassed in front of his whole
and they're
fucking
just
class,
behind the curve. And CPS classrooms, there's like 30, 40, 50 kids to one teacher. It's impossible for CPS teachers to have that intimate time to try to bring someone up, to the same level as the rest of their classmates.
I mean, think about it, Curtis. If you know you can't read and your homies, the girl that you like is in that classroom and the teacher calls on you're staring at that book and you're probably gonna be like, fuck this book. Fuck you, teacher.
I had a student straight up.
You would rather get the
Yeah, be out in class, out in the hallway looking in.
Then
the principal's
he can't
office. Yeah, you roasted. We talked about getting roasted and shit. There'd be nothing worse than getting roasted.
My favorite line. I was about to say that. My favorite line out of an Adam Sandler movie was in Billy Madison when he's like, "Today, Junior."
So and it's brutal. Like growing up as a kid. It is hard. Just like in that whole social construct, and the cool kids, and all the different stuff. But all it takes is for someone to care. You know what I mean?
Man.
Somebody to come in, encourage, and just motivate a kid, even if it's like one-on-one, which is really hard to do. People got day jobs, and teachers have it fucking rough out here. They don't get paid enough. There's not enough of them, and they don't get provided with the type of resources that they need.
And on top of that, but when you talk about the communities that you guys are trying to reach out to, when I talk about encouragement, these hoods and shit, it's full of discouraging. Yeah. It's full of discouraging motherfuckers.
Yeah, everywhere you look.
When you want to do something different, get your goofy ass out of here. I want to go. You ain't going to do that. It's full of, even your home, you get it from your homies. You know what I mean? Like, I want to go to class. I want to fucking be a microbiologist. Get your goofy ass out of here. It's just always a lot of discouraging motherfuckers around you. They only see what they see on an everyday basis.
Yeah,
you roll a good blunt, you a funny dude, and that's that.
Yeah, and shout out to these community organizations because there's a ton of them. Like we just rolled out to Back of the Yards. We're in Inglewood. We're in North Lawndale. We're in Pilsen. We're in these communities, and there are so many organizations that are doing this groundwork. That's been doing the groundwork. You know what I mean? And they get kind of drowned out by all of the if it bleeds, it leads in the newspaper.
Shit, bro.
Like all that shit gets like front page. Type of coverage and shit,
and especially now with the whole fucking anarchists destroying cities. These cities are.
It's not.
Chicago's the same as it was last year,
block,
even
my
after
hood,
the
my
riots,
city,
man.
out cleaning up, doing these different things.
They do a lot of shit, yeah.
And so you see these, these different organizations. So that's why I always tell people, like, if you want to support something, do your research. Like the best thing that kind of really came out of this whole kind of like social uprising is the fact that like people started sharing, hey, here's a list of organizations that are doing, you know, XYZ in the community. You know, here's like, you know, black minority owned businesses or, you know, organizations that are doing the real work.
The real work.
Because
And
a lot of people faking the funk.
And on top, speaking of that and all that, stop being a fucking keyboard warrior.
Yeah. Get out there.
If you're going to be out there bitching about what the government's not doing, what mayor's not doing, what CPS is not doing, instead of bitching, try it. Like me and Mikey O have been putting together fundraisers for CPS schools, even some of these Catholic schools, just to raise money to get hockey equipment. Simple shit, right? And then from that, it led into, hey, we want to do this bigger program for a school district or the Berwyn Park district. The shit would just get bigger, right? Because it all boils down to funds. These people need fucking funds, bro.
That's it.
Right? And the government is not going to cough that shit
up. The loopholes that 501c3s, and then even to get into that whole kind of like tax, you know, tier is completely, you know, that's a whole nother world. But once you get it, like to secure these like federal grants, you know, or grants from the government, it's like you gotta like blow them to get this type of, you know, get this money. Like, and then you see like huge chunks of money that go to like these huge kind of like, you know, corporate
they've had money,
you know, organization that they really don't
or
need
they're
it.
tied into
and there's no paper trail
money.
You know what I mean? It's like once you give $25 million, Jordan Corporation, to this, you know, the worst I hear is like, oh, we're gonna donate like $100 million to like black causes. It's like, the fuck is that? What the fuck is black like? And I'm not even tripping off the like
the GDs are a black cause.
Yeah, right. Like at one point in time, the government was giving them a hell of money, and then they stopped, and then you get what you get. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's like, you know, put your money where your mouth is, put your time where your mouth is. If you ain't got the money to do it, you could always volunteer. You could always donate books, you know, to open books. You could donate money. There's so many different ways to actually like affect change instead of doing that keyboard hustle.
Yeah, like me. I mean, during the quarantine, there was, you know, people were stuck at home, but you know, there was like a fucking race war going on right after George Floyd was murdered. And I was sitting at home and I see some of my friends doing murals, doing protests. I could see James out there with the young dudes. And I'm at home just like, fuck, I can't go out there with my leg. This is when I was really in pain. I couldn't really move shit. So what I would do is I was just getting my word out. Look, this is what's happening over here. Avoid fucking going to Ogden. And people were reacting to it. So I felt like I was doing something. My voice goes.
I mean, when you physically,
voice goes out.
You like laid up with like a gimp leg and shit, like, yeah, you physically couldn't do that, you know. So however you feel like you can, you know, inform and motivate people, whatever you got to do.
At the same time, that's how I came up with this, where I was like, you know what? I see so many people getting in the fucking mix. I mean, getting in the trenches.
Yeah.
Like, put aside everything that I've been doing creatively as an artist or whatever the fuck, and let me get this out. And that's why I came up with this idea, sitting on the couch fucked up, smoking weed. I was like, you know what? Instead of just trying to get comedy out, so many people doing dope shit for people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And right now, I mean, there's a huge divide with the Trump and Biden shit, which is probably going to feel for the next 20 fucking years.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people still need shit.
Yeah.
There's still kids. We still got to deal with Chicago Public School. We still got to deal with crime. Aside from all the political shit, we have problems in our society.
Yeah, the shit is layering
it's
so
still
much
there.
right now. Like in the middle of a global pandemic, now everybody's kind of like stuck at home looking at their phones, looking at TV. And then you get the social, you know, kind of like inequity piece though. Now it's like, now that's getting shoved down your throat. Oh, how coincidental. It's all at the same time of an election year, you know, and it's just like do. Everything's like piling up. And I feel like a lot of people are getting a little overwhelmed, you know, they're stuck in the house, you know, they lost their jobs, so they're getting depressed. You know, you have all of these like outside elements, and it's like, how the fuck can I possibly like overcome this shit? You know,
it's
what I mean?
Lot of shit.
And then, but that's in your own life. You know what I'm saying? And like, like I said, there's levels to it. There's, you know, people have it worse than other people. Now imagine all of that shit happening in like just severe poverty. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you were talking about how there's kind of this little like racial divide. You know, there's like a little piece where it's like this black on brown thing, right? Like, you know, people were looting, and then, you know, in the Pilsen neighborhood, yeah, and then
when there was a bunch of Mexican kids doing the fucking looting,
and it was everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. Like, and
dude, they showed real quick. They showed a video by my neighborhood at 47. they broke into one of those villa like fashion design. It's called Villa Clothing or whatever the fuck. So the rumor in the hood was like you hear the Mexican ladies, the black people are looting the stores on 47th Street. You could hear the neighbors. The video they showed, oh, little Mexican gangbangers coming out the store, dog.
And that's a sad thing because that is, I hate to do like the media does this to me. People do this, you know.
Yeah.
Not even
And the media
influence.
just puts
But yeah,
it-
the media
they
kind of
push it.
fans the flames a little bit. But
No, you know what the media does? The media feeds that shit to the people that don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that exactly.
The little
That's like
rural towns that don't know shit, that say that that we're destroying these.
Yep.
They're the one. They're feeding it to them motherfuckers, man.
And when I say it's everyone, I'm talking everyone. It's white.
Oh, there was skateboard
brown,
kids.
you
We
know
were
what I'm
talking about
saying?
these
All
fucking
this
anarchists
shit.
or skateboarders.
And you know what I mean? Like, hey, if whatever you feel like you need to do to like get your frustration out, if you truly feel passionate, like all this bullshit of trying to like incite and you know what I'm saying, this fucking
Like what's gonna happen
COINTELPRO
after?
shit, yeah, like you know what I'm saying, like all that is bullshit. Like people who are fed up and like have no real other recourse, you know what I'm saying, they're in the community, you know, this is my shit, and you got to break some shit just to release the steam. Like I'm never gonna tell anyone how to like handle their shit. Now, hurting small businesses and people who really are just collateral damage in this that don't have anything to do with why you're being fucking pissed off or, you know, frustrated is very counterproductive. Like
Vindictive
fuck,
motherfuckers.
yeah, and I'm saying that's like me getting pissed off at shit that happened outside and me just punching you in the face. Where it's like, hey, what the fuck? I ain't got shit to do with it.
Let's not lie, bro. There's a little group of comedians probably happy that the Laugh Factory is closed right now.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
ain't shit popping.
Yeah, ain't shit popping.
Because they
You
just
already
ain't
know.
shit popping. That's
But there was a point where, you know, Pilsen, you know, they you know what I'm saying, it was gangbangers, whatever. There's like,
it's
I wish
crazy.
some black motherfuckers would come through, you know what I mean? And I was trying to plan some shit because every year I do like a back to school thing, and I was
I
gonna go
had
pick
to
up some
communicate
books.
with some people through that because there was a lot of false shit being put
Yeah,
out
no,
there, bro.
dude, I was talking with the alderman, Barracito Lopez, who's a great dude. He's doing, you know, he's only a couple years in, you know, as alderman, but, you know, he's really doing a lot to try to galvanize and really create a sense of
me and
community
my
in there.
first guest, Mateo Zapata, who does a lot
Yeah,
for the
Mateo's
Pilsen
awesome,
community.
yeah.
I mean, we saw it. CPD was inciting some of this shit.
Oh, absolutely.
The police
That's
were
a whole
fake,
different- yeah.
fake tweets, fake Instagram posts about shit that wasn't going on.
Was not popping. So I'm seeing this shit. I'm like, damn, I was gonna go down, pick up some books. I had to deliver, you know, to you know, some places in Pilsen, and I made a post about the shit. I was like, yo, it's like sad that, you know, with all this shit going on, there are people who are trying to kind of do some positive or at least attempt to, and then you got all this fucking bullshit. Like that shit hit me. Like I ended up kind of falling for the okie doke. And, you know, the alderman and state representative Teresa Mala, kind of, we started working together and, you know, to put together an event for, you know, like the community. So we just recently had kind of like a family fall resource event, socially distant and all that. But it was like, you know, we had just had 500 people the year before for the back to school event. We can't do that anymore, you know. So, you know, we had to do, you know, a more limited, you know, but socially distant, safe event. But it does show that like the power of people kind of coming together will overcome all this, you know, bullshit hate, all this bullshit dividing in the country. Because I always thought it was weird. You can't call yourself the United States and you have divided parties. You got red, you got right, you got blue, you got left, you got right.
And then now you got the Confederate States reemerging.
Right? And so it's like there's got to be some sort of common ground that we can get together as people, you know, honoring reparations in a sensible way where people don't feel like they got to give up their money because I didn't have slaves.
And,
you know, all this bullshit.
And,
like,
and vetting immigrants, treating immigrants right.
yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
like the shit that
Refugees.
we were supposed
Some people
to
that come
be.
here are literally refugees. They're running away from some fucked up
Yeah,
situations.
the Irish the same way, the Italian the same way. The whole fucking Godfather
it all
movie
happened.
is literally like
Refugees.
like that. Like you could look at that as what immigration propaganda. Like the fucking Italians came over and just started causing a bunch of fucking crime.
And
You know, like,
all the-
fresh off the boat.
And shout out
fucking
to all the
shit.
Cuban fucking Trump supporters. Watch Scarface. It's
So yeah, you know,
an
I
Italian
think,
guy playing a Cuban. But yeah, just watch it.
But I do feel, you know, and the same thing can be said for, you know, when we're talking about the comedy community and industry, like buying in on making shit better for everyone.
For
Like,
everyone.
ditch that selfish shit. Like I'm in it for me. Like, at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're taking care of you and yours. But trust me, if you keep oppressing people and trying to like keep the, you know, the person you feel like
We're never
beneath
gonna
you
be
is
on the same
down,
page.
One day you will be that person. There's going to be someone.
You're
Everything
gonna
is a
be looking
hierarchy.
up
There's a
and-
motherfucker above you that, you know what I'm saying?
And they don't look down.
And I think that's just the way that we should be as a people. Yeah, quote me on that.
Hell yeah.
If we can get
This
a tight
motherf-
shot here
Curtis on some fucking
this
straight
camera.
Fucking
Flag,
peaceful.
yeah, Flag 2024. I will be running for.
He will be the new
an
Peace Corps.
office. I don't know which one just yet. We'll see where the wind blows.
Hey,
but-
people been telling
let's go.
when I was talking all that shit during the pandemic, like run for office, I mean, like hell no, I ain't trying to be no motherfucker. right, man. Before we wrap this
Ain't
up,
no money in this.
Hell no. And not only that, but I ain't trying to be no politic, man. But look, before we wrap it up, because I like to talk my shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's
and
get
in
it.
politics, you got to watch your mouth sometimes. But before we wrap it up, just shout out to Open Books. Where can people donate? The website. Please donate books, money. Let's
Yes.
educate, get these kids in the mode to do different shit.
Absolutely. There's so many different ways that you can contribute to literacy in Chicago. You can go to open-books.org. You can donate financially. We do free book pickup, so you can fill out a pickup form, and then we have a van that runs usually about 2 to 4 weeks pickup time, just depending on where you are. Could be a lot sooner than that. We have multiple drop-off locations in the city of Chicago. Obviously, with CPS being virtual, our volunteer opportunities aren't as vast as they were before, but there are certain spots you can just fill out a volunteer application, and Allison Gerber, who actually is our volunteer coordinator, she'll reach out to you and kind of see where we can fit you in. But obviously, once things open back up, those opportunities will be
up.
highly necessary
And
once
more
kids
than
get back
necessary.
to school. Yeah. We still are doing, some of our programs virtually. So if you're an educator and you're trying to figure out a way, to provide something different for the students, because I know Zoom is probably getting boring as well for some of these kids. They fake logging in and
I'm
everything.
saying, man,
so
come on. I mean, only thing kids are looking. I mean, if it's not a fucking video game, they ain't gonna be stuck in that shit, man.
So open-books.org. You could donate your time, you could donate books, you could donate money. There's just so many different ways that you can get involved. You can purchase books for a student. If you're a parent, expecting mother, and you want to get a free book mailed straight to your house every month, we work with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to provide access to books from birth until the child starts school. But that is open-books.org to find out more.
Curtis, thank you, man. You're doing a lot for the community.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate that. Make sure you check out that website or donate money, books, whatever. Let's help out. And Curtis, I'm thanks for being positive about the whole shit.
No, of course.
Things are gonna
You
get back to
gotta
normal,
be,
man.
right, man.
I mean,
At the end of
as
the
somebody
day.
who's running a big comedy club and shit getting shut down right now, and just a business that's just not seeing any kind of fucking revenue coming in,
Yeah.
and then you have employees and comedians that need work. I mean, you just staying positive from a general manager of a comedy club, hearing it from you to a comedian, it's hopeful. All right, there's fucking hope. Shit will get back to normal. Just mask up, man. Just
Yeah,
wash your
please.
fuck.
Oh
Just
my
stay away
God.
from people. That's why I tell people, like, here. This is what drives me crazy. Real quick before I wrap it up about the whole pandemic. All right, take a year. Let's take a year off. A year ain't shit. People were losing their fucking minds after 2 or 3 weeks.
Put it like this: if you don't take the year off, it's gonna be
It's
lot
gonna be longer.
than that.
Let's
Like,
just take a
man.
year off of all the bullshit,
my
man. Stay
gosh.
home. Fucking embrace time with your kids.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck. Let's just take a year off of all the extra shit.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, I feel bad
All
for
that bull-
bars.
that
Don't get
part,
me wrong.
underground partying, like I see everybody in the basements. I see comics. The comics, I see you.
I see-
If you're wondering why I'm not booking you on a show,
Right
it's
now.
because I'm looking at your Instagram and I see you at these fucking shows. Nobody's got
No
masks.
masks.
Y'all taking group pictures and shit. No masks, and you're like, hey bro, like why ain't you hit me up? Because you're a super spreader. You are a super
like-
spreader. And you ain't spreading jokes. My guy.
when Calvin exactly when Kelvin was spreading laughs, none of that shit. When Calvin was here, he's like, when you get back into the scene, are you kind of paranoid? I'm like, they book you on a gig. I'm like, the comic before you is a Trump supporter who doesn't believe in COVID, and the guy after you was Wuhan's funniest fucking comedian. He won Wuhan.
Who do you want to be?
So do you really want to get booked right now?
Nah,
Stay the fuck home,
I'm
man.
straight.
Anyway, Curtis, thank you so much, man. We're going to wrap this show up. This was a long one. It was a good one, man. Good conversation. Thanks again to Mikey O Comedy Productions. This is all brought to you by Mikey O at the moment. And shout out to People of Comedy Network. Thanks
you.
again, James.
Thank you.
This is a wrap. Thank you. Appreciate you. Hey, follow me, Joey V Comedy on Instagram. Yeah.